segment. But other than that, yeah.
No Curtis?
Well,
no, Curtis. Yeah, Curtis had warned us he would not be able to be here for 2 weeks. So this is week 2 without Curtis. All right, looks like we're getting ready to go live here. The light is green on YouTube. All right, what's going on, everybody out there on the worldwide internets? CoCoTALK episode 70 is going to do it live in 3, 2. This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. Streaming live on YouTube and Roku, available as a podcast and enjoyed the world over. And now, here's your host. All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK episode 71, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. Let alone the only live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. But who's counting? And Paul Fiscarelli has just gotten here. James Jones is in the live chat. Hello, everybody. We're here. We're on a Saturday. We are surrounded by a bunch of good-looking people. And then there's me. But let's see who's in the room with us today. Who's on the panel? We have international celebrity, voice actor, artiste extraordinaire, and a guy who just makes Bruce Moore look like he knows what he's doing. We're talking about Jacob Moore is with us live on the program. Hey, good afternoon, Jacob. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good eye. And then we have that no talent hack parent of his, D. Bruce Moore, is with us. Hey, Bruce.
Jacob's dad.
Jacob's dad. Yes. When Jacob's old enough to drive himself around, he won't need you anymore. So. And then we have with us from sunny Arizona, where you can cook an egg in less than 5 minutes on a sidewalk, Mr. Ron Delvaux is with us.
Sir. Cookies on the dash.
Cookies on the dashboard.
Yes, sir.
We have with us, getting ready for his sister's wedding, but still committed to the show, and thankfully no Apple II in the background this time. Mark D. Overholzer is with us.
Actually, it's my daughter.
Your daughter.
Doing flowers in the back. Yes.
Daughter, sister, wife, one of these things. It's your wife's wedding, right? Is your wife getting married?
Again, yeah.
All right. So we also have with us, I don't know if he's on a bicycle, if he's on an assignment somewhere in Afghanistan, but Jason Reichert is with us, our traveling correspondent. Hey, Jason.
Hey, everybody.
Where are you today, Jason?
Nigeria.
I'm at home, just resolving a couple technical difficulties.
All right, sounds good. You got that new boomerang webcam, I see, huh? All right. We have a special guest with us. Since Curtis Boyle could not be here, we couldn't have one of our regular Canadians. We've got our stand-in stunt double Canadian, Bill Noble. How's it going, eh?
Oh, pretty good.
All right. Co-creator of Nitrous 9. Maker of all fine things for the Roger Taylor production products, all kinds of good stuff. We have another foreigner on the show right now. We have from Down Under, the creator of Funstar on OS 9, available in ROM cartridge. We have Nick Marentes. G'day, Nick.
G'day, everyone.
He fit everything in there, didn't he?
Yes, we did. Nick is here. He's with us. We also have with us The Fly. We have Seth Brendel. Brendel Fly is with us. Mr. James Diffendaffer with his Rorschach test, whatever's going on there.
It's a Mandelbrot.
And Mandelbrot. Okay. He looks like somebody. It looks like somebody squished a bug on a index card.
Well, you can only do so much with two colors.
We have us right now in the middle of a high-speed chase, avoiding and evading law enforcement. Grant Leighty is driving for his life right now. I wish I had sirens in my soundboard. I got to get that next since we have so many people on the road. Woo, woo, woo. Grant Leighty, how are you?
I think he's been pulled over. It looks stationary.
Oh, and Retro Innovations has joined us. And Retro Innovations says, I'm preparing for this train wreck of a show. All right. Well, we got the train rolling. And as we're playing Hollywood Squares here, center square for the win. Brian Wessler is with us. Am I saying your name right, Brian?
Weisler.
Weasler. Weasler. You corrected me once before, and I'm never going to get it right. Brian Weasler is what to say. Brian, welcome to the show. And welcome to all those of you who are watching us. We are streaming live. Ron, can you confirm if we are on the Roku or not?
We are not. As far as I can see. Let me push the magic button here.
All right. Nick Marentes is here. Hey, everybody say hi to Nick Marentes.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
I lied. We are on.
We are on Roku. So, yeah, we are streaming live. The primary source for this is on YouTube. But we are multi-streaming to the multiverse, so you can also see us on Mixer. You can see us on Twitch. You can now also see us on frickin' Periscope, which is how Twitter does live streaming. And now, too, have been on for quite some time now, Roku. Coco TV channel on Roku, streaming live. So Ken Reichert just made us to the live chat. Screaming live is what James Jones says. Yes, so we are multi-streaming to the multiverse. So this train wreck is on multiple channels, multiple airwaves through multiple dimensions. So if you have any type of phase particle situation, you can catch us wherever you transmorph to. So we're here. We are in episode 71, and hopefully our video game aficionado Steve Bjork will be joining us soon. But we have scheduled to air today Assembly Language Part 6 in our ongoing series. And
You can fill in for him. You got the slides, right?
I have the slides. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So
That's no different than.
yes.
Hey,
So
Stevie, how have we been doing with our broadcast? Like, are we way over 10,000 now, or?
Hold on. I have those numbers somewhere.
I think it's slightly over 10,000.
10,000 on the podcast. We're at 10,700 right now. So so it hasn't quite been a month. We average about 1,000 per month, I think, right? On podcast consumption. So we're kind of on par there. So yep. Hey, Tim Franklin is here. Hey, Tim. And Tim's here. Tim says, I'm back. Welcome back, Tim. So what's been going on this week? I know we got news to talk about. I got news articles queued up and everything. But what about you guys here in the panel? How has your week been? Anything interesting going on with your projects and your retro hobbies? Anything you came across that you thought was interesting? Anyone?
Well, I upgraded my SDCX card to version 5.0. Has everybody done that?
No, I have not.
They put on the now I can do internet and I can do all kinds of things now with my.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wow, that's quite the update.
Quite an upgrade, huh?
Yeah. Mark Siegel has just joined us. Hey, Mark, how are you? So what is new? No, I have not done that, but I need to.
I don't think it's really pressing or anything, but there's a couple fixes he put in there.
Okay. That's probably an excuse to make another how-to video. I haven't done a Coco how-to video in a while, so as I do it, I should probably record it for posterior's sake. Coco SDC update to .50 for those of you who are in know. So it's your sister who's getting married, Mark?
No, my daughter.
Dang it! It's a female. It's a female relative. I keep screwing this up.
Female relative.
All right, so it's your daughter is getting married. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And is this first marriage for daughter?
Yes, it is. She's only 22.
Oh wow, that's young.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is.
But obviously she knows what she's doing, right?
Seems like it, so I'm willing to go with it.
Wow.
Are we going to have a CoCoTALK wedding after dark?
Maybe, who knows? She's a very directed girl. She's plans out well, so I have no fear that she's just jumping in.
There you go. Listen, if you already know what you want in life and you're able to get on the road sooner than others, then God bless you. I'm still trying to figure things out. So,
me too.
Yeah. Hallelujah. Jason, the Coco Man Reichert, anything new with you?
No, I've been quite busy with other things, and I'm just trying to keep I'm just trying to keep everything straight here and not get confused about who's getting married.
There you go. So it is Mark Overholser's daughter, not his sister,
Not his
Yes.
wife.
not his wife. Okay. So it's Mark's daughter. Okay, there we go. We have that. And I'm just checking real quick. Yes. Okay. So we do have the official update and announcement that we'll be talking about Tandy Assembly a little bit later on in the program. All right. So everybody's clear that it is Mark Overholser's daughter who's getting married, not his sister, not his wife, not his mother. Right. So we're good there. And Bill Noble, how's it going? We haven't heard from you in a while. Everything going good?
Oh yeah, everything's going really good.
Yeah.
Actually, did get a good breakthrough this week on OS 9 for its boot process for getting graph drift started.
Okay.
It actually allows you to have an extra 16K or on a 6809 machine for boot file.
Okay.
Or on 309 an extra 8K in your boot file.
Wow. So you're how is it that you have more memory on a 6809 than on a 6309?
Well, 6809 version of OS 9 or Nitrous 9 now, the graph drift module is 16K in size.
Okay.
Or that it is allocated in memory, even though it's just over 8K.
Okay.
But on a 6309, it's still under the 8K limit.
Oh, and no matter what you do, everything's going to take up an 8K block because that's what the MMU does, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the whole purpose, if I recall, let's see if I was paying attention and if I have any type of retention here. The whole idea here was in order to get this stuff to load at boot time, you had to squeeze it into a certain size or it would just shit the bed, pardon my expression, because it was too big, right? So, and you have now compacted it to a point where it will load. And one of the challenges was on the 6809 because it's doesn't have the optimizations of the 6309 version. It was a bigger piece of code, ate up more memory. It was harder to load, right? So you've somehow now worked through sorcery. And in sorcery and black magic, you have made this happen.
Yeah, basically when Microware created OS 9 on the CoCo, GraphDriv was actually being mapped into the system space for a split second before it got moved out to its own task.
Okay.
So it actually took that 16K away from your boot process.
Okay.
And that only happened for a split second. So this was why there's, I wouldn't say really is a bug, but an annoyance with OS 9 since the beginning.
Okay.
So can you fix that for the 6809 as well?
Yes.
Are you working on
It
that?
is now actually fixed for the 6809, the 6309, and also the 6309 version of the code has also been expanded so it can also handle a 16K graph drift if it ever gets that far.
Can I ask a really dumb question? Now, when you're doing the 6809 version, there's still a level 2 for this. It runs on a CoCo 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know. I don't understand the need now to spend all this time to maintain 2 versions and maintain that other version, especially now with 6309s are so common and so cheap. Does it make sense to keep maintaining that old version?
Well, the code that I've actually changed is from the actual repo anyway, which has got it all embedded in the actual source code, which is switching between the two. So I never bothered ripping any of that stuff out.
Yeah. But I mean, I know Nick Marentes was talking about, he's now just going to support 6309 on his new game. It's like, why bother having to write the software to do different things under different conditions? Just do it this way.
And Nitrous 9 is meant to be a 6309 application anyway, isn't it? We're sort of going backwards with it.
Yeah.
Well, in this particular case, like I said,
we're
the source code was built.
denitrosizing it.
Yeah, it's built for both. So when you actually build the source code, it builds both versions.
Oh.
Well, it's good for the guy that doesn't have the money or time to upgrade his CoCo, and he's still sitting there with his 16.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that you're doing it, but it just seems now too at this point that it seems like it's a lot of work to maintain the different versions.
Well, I agree with Nick too. Like, Nitrous 9 was meant for 6309, so why is it still being supported on 6809?
Right. I mean, at this point, if you're if somebody's die hard enough to run a 30-year-old operating system, then get off the pot and just put a socket in your damn computer. If you don't know how to do it, call up Boyce on Tech, have him do it. But yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, listen, the fact that people are doing it and giving the luxury to people to have the ability to still run it, but to me, it just seems like a lot of work. But that's cool. That's good news. Good news. More and more progress going on. Grant Leighty, evading law enforcement as we speak. Looks like he's doing 88 miles per hour. He's just about ready to travel through time there in his DeLorean. What's going on, Grant?
Hey, not much. Just getting ready for BCF and preparing for a good time at that show.
There you go. And Al Hartman has joined us in the live chat. Hey, Al Hartman in New Jersey. We got two guys in New Jersey, Tom C. and Al Hartman. So, we're covering all the continents here. Good stuff. Who have I missed here? James Diffendaffer. Anything new and exciting with you this week?
Must be a train.
Really. I've just been making some blog posts showing different code between different processors and stuff like that. And I've had a whopping 8 views or something like that. Just exciting to about 1% of the population.
Right.
Nothing real interesting.
Way to sell it there, James.
Yeah. That Mandelbrot, the giant bug that is my picture there, that takes 12 plus hours to render on a Coco 3 in high speed mode without any patches to the ROM. So I just thought I'd share that, and then one of these days I'll get around to benchmarking it against, with patched ROM.
So you're saying this thing that looks like somebody squished a bug on a piece of cardboard took 12 hours for the Coco 3 to render?
It took 12 hours.
12 hours. 12 hours. All right. So every pixel there was painstakingly sweated over by your Coco 3. So we must appreciate all these pixels here because all the hard work that went into them.
I don't know if you should appreciate it. It's kind of ugly, but it's one of those real world things that I came up with a test for, how much of a difference the patch would make. And the patch I've already done, I think, should cut it by about 26% off of that. So you'd still be going all day, but.
Right. Alexander Wallace has joined us. Hello, Alexander. And James Jones is asking, what is this written in? Because you're talking about patches, we have to assume this is written in BASIC.
Okay, that is written in BASIC, and I have a version of the code that I was going to post to my blog, but in Microsoft's infinite wisdom, the actual version of that rendered that was destroyed by Microsoft deciding to reboot my machine overnight. So I've got to recreate it, but it's a minor work if I don't decide to completely rage quit the project anyway.
That's right. Listen, I've cornered the market on rage quitting, so you need to you need to run that by me first before all rage quits must be approved by upper management. So
my Coco was able to render this picture of me in 1/1000th of a second. And it has the same squishy look.
Yeah. Looks like somebody did a ink blot of Al Pacino there. So, Hey, Jonathan Farmwald, one of our Minecraft friends, has just popped in and said hi. Hey, Jonathan, how are you? Cool stuff. All right, well, we got an action-packed show ahead of you. As I say, wondering what this show is going to contain because I have no idea. But yeah, let's err on the side of optimism and say it's going to be a great show today. This one's going to be good. I can feel it. Right. We have 17 people watching us live out there in the multiverse. how about let's take a quick moment to acknowledge some of our sponsors. We'll take a commercial break and then we'll get back. Still haven't heard from Steve Bjork yet, so hopefully he'll be joining us in a little bit. If not, we can always delay the assembly segment. But this is where we talk about the people who have been creating products for our community, and we want to recognize and acknowledge many of our great community contributors. So we'll start in reverse order. How about Ed Snyder in the Zipster Zone, ZIPPSTER zone.com. So for the longest time, if you wanted to figure out what Ed had available or how to order a product from Ed, well, you either had to message him or email him or PayPal him. But now you can just go to thezipsterzone.com and check out all the great products like the Coco SDC, the Super, what is his sound card called? Is it PSG, Programmable Sound Generator? There's so many different sound cards out there. But yeah, so Ed Snyder's got his own website. Check that out. Our good friend Brian Joyce in Australia, Nick's neighbor of Extructus Productions, FD501.com. So Brian Joyce makes a lot of our bonus content for the show. The podcast that launched a community, the CoCoCrew.org. Check out the Coco Crew podcast. There's 38 episodes right now. If you haven't heard them all, you got a lot of binging to catch up on. Available wherever free podcasts are sold and also online at CoCoCrew.org. Our show, CoCoTALK. If you want to find out all about us and how to reach us, you can go to CoCoTALK.live. That is our website. That's an actual thing, like a .com. It's .live. So go to CoCoTALK.live for ways to reach out to the show and send us feedback. I'm a CoCoNut.com. I've probably got things I need to update there, like adding Diego's website to it. But that's a website I have that's meant to be a resource for color computer things. So check that one out. If you want to get some cool Coco merchandise and help support our endeavors, you can always go to our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com for t-shirts, coffee mugs, and mouse pads. Let's not forget we are live on Roku, streaming on the Coco TV channel. Thank you to Roger Taylor. Jason Reichert, our very own panel member here, Jason Reichert, maker of the Switcheroo, the hottest selling hardware product since the Color Computer 3, available at cocoman.biz and coco3scartcable.com. Another cool project is the SDpack.com website. Shows you how to make an auto-booting SD card. I'm getting some feedback or sound noise somewhere. I don't know where the hell that's coming from. Maybe it's Grant. Hold on, Houston to tower, come in. All right, so check out sdpack.com. Cloud9 Technologies, maker of fine color computer hardware and accessories for over 2 decades. Cloud9tech.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations, not just Coco products, but products for your Commodore and Texas Instrument machines as well. So it's retro.com. Richard Lorbieski and Boyson Technology, the maker of the Boomerang. The creator of Boomerang Mania, the latest Coco addition to catch the world by storm at Boyson Tech, BOYSON Tech.com. Last but not least, Brendan Donaghy's project, CocoVGA.com. Cool way to add VGA modern outputs to your Color Computer 1 and 2 and Dragon. Check that out. All right, we're going to go ahead and run a commercial, and we'll be back. Tom C. has just joined us. Hey, Tom C. from Jersey, and we'll be back in just a little bit, folks.
Hi, this is Sean Wheatley, and you're listening to CoCoTALK with the original gamer, CoCoTALK.
We'll return after these messages.
Hi, I'm Bruce Moore, and this is Jacob Moore. Gotcha. And we are the Forest of Doom guys, and the Coco Forever guys, and we're at Coco Fest, and we love OgStevieStrow.
What if, knowing what I know now, I could go back in time, join Tandy Corporation, and change the course of history? Coco forever.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me. It's Original Gamer StevieStrow. You know, gameplay. To get your copy of a Gameplay Goodness Color Computer Gaming DVD today, head on over to 8bit256.com. There you will find several DVDs featuring color computer gameplay videos by the Original Gamer StevieStrow. So to get your very own copy of a Gameplay Goodness Color Computer Gaming DVD, head on over to the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com and tell them the Original Gamer StevieStrow sent you.
Let the Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, an up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
We turn you to CoCoTALK.
I always miss that when the speech sound pack's coming back here. I get a little trigger happy when I just switch back to the scene. All right, Nick Marentes back. Tom C is here. I'm hearing some feedback. Where is it coming from? Grant, is that you?
No, I'm right here.
It's Greg.
Is it Greg? Frickin' Greg.
I'll mute.
Testes 1, 2. Okay, so the feedback is gone. Greg, it was you. All right, it's all good. We love you anyways. Bless his heart, that little Grant. Bless his heart. Well, we're back. So what's the topic today, guys?
Nick Marentes.
Nick Marentes. Nick Marentes. Nick Marentes. Have we mentioned?
I wonder how Funstar's doing.
Funstar was available on ROM cartridge. That was eons ago. Have you not obtained your Funstar ROM cartridge?
No, I haven't.
Here was a limited run.
Very, very limited.
Very limited.
Limited to the commercial. All right. So, what about you guys out there watching us live? What are the people on YouTube right now up to this week? Anything new and exciting you guys, our viewers, have going on with you? We got some news queued up. We'll get into news in a little bit. We've got a Why Did Tandy Do That segment, right? Do we want to jump in to get an early start on Why Did Tandy Do That? There's no reason why we can't break
because
form
it was
here.
Cheap.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, because they were cheap. SOBs.
You can capture the market or you can market it cheap.
So who is going to be spearheading this one? Is it Ron Delvaux? Are you going to be leading with this?
Ron has a topic, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna switch to the make it big here. All right. Well, let's queue up our infographic here. And oh, by the way, I need to talk to Brian Joyce about this. But so now that I've switched over to this YouTube channel here, my OG channel, which happens to be monetized, and so now YouTube scrutinizes everything. So you know our Why Did David Ladd segments? What did David break this week? Mm-hmm. That little musical number apparently is copyright. And now I got a copyright flag from last week's episode for playing that. So we're going to have to figure that out because that's an important part of the show. Okay, Tim Franklin says, had open heart surgery last week. Wow. Tim, are you okay? We're glad you're here with us. That's kind of like Mark Overholzer at his sister's aunt's cousin's female neighbor's wedding. He still was committed to being on the show. So even after your surgery, you're here. God bless you. God bless you. Yeah, and Nick Marentes says, oh my God, copyright 1937, right? So I don't know. People find a way to copyright things. All right, so let's cue the Why Did Tandy Do That little infographic here, and then we're going to hear what Ron Delvaux's got for us this week. Well, that stupid thing didn't frickin' play, so let me yeah, let's press the button, Frank.
Tell me why did Tandy do that?
All right, Ron.
All right, let's see. I need a prop here, so maybe I can find one. I'm going to dig down deep into my Radio Shack.
Something to open your window? Oh.
My Radio Shack diskette file.
Ooh, floppy
pull
file.
Out a floppy.
Classic.
And I'm going to ask, why did Tandy do this? Why did they put track 17 as a directory on a floppy? Didn't others put it on track 0? Why is it on track 17?
It's right in the middle.
Why?
Yeah. Well,
seek time.
It reduces the seek time. That's right. If you have it in the middle of the disk, then regardless of where the heads are of the floppy drive, it's the shortest path would be generally if the track is in the middle. If it's at the very end of the disk, it only has to move to the center. Whereas if the directory track was on track 0, it would have to move the head all the way across the disk. So the center seems to be the overall shortest position for it to see.
Yeah, it's the center of the original 35-track drive.
Yeah, and don't forget that when it loads a file, it grabs the file is not stored. Quite often is not stored sequentially on the disk, one sector following the other. Sometimes. So if the sectors are scattered all over the disk, well, their heads are moving back and forth all over the place. Keep it in the center. It's a more central position for it to access sectors. So,
yeah,
so let me ask you.
The DOS cannot hold all the information in memory at a time as to where that file is stored. So we'd have to seek back to the directory to find out where the next block is. So that's why it'll go back and forth, loading a really big file.
So when a floppy is not being used, where does the head rest normally?
On a pillow. Ba-dum.
We're last access to disk.
Yeah, usually the last place it was used.
Yeah, it's not like a hard drive where they automatically park and go to.
Okay, so my question is, sometimes, if you reset your computer, you always want to leave your door open so that the heads aren't on the media, so that you won't get your disk zapped. Explain that.
I've got a train right now. Hang on. I knew that was coming.
Perfect.
I've never had.
There's the other.
I get that every time one train passes 3 times because we've got 3 crossings within hearing range of me. I've never had trouble with that. The hardware is designed so it's not supposed to cause a problem when you reset, but if it were to be lying under on the directory and that were to be a problem, I mean, you look at the what was it, the Coleco Atom, when you turned it on, it erased the tape.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a design flaw, and I don't think it's part of the, because of the controller chip and everything handling all that. I don't think it's a problem with the CoCo. But
I think really any of the problem was sometimes if you ran a program and it would crash your computer, you'd get the hard drive lights come on.
Yeah, well, if a program crashes, it can write garbage over the memory addresses that are used to interface to the hardware. Mm-hmm. So it could write any kind of garbage to it, especially if you had the floppy drive initialized to something already. If the floppy drive's not running, it's probably not going to cause a problem, but if it's running at the time it crashes, it could obliterate a track. The big problem with drives getting corrupted on the CoCo was actually a bug in the DOS, if I remember right. And I remember I had a program that, even though that it only used 35 tracks on the drive, you could make a copy of the directory track out on like track 36 or something like that. and I had a program that would back up the directory. And I had one of the versions of DOS that caused the problem with that, and I was recovering directories about once a month. I think the later DOSes fixed that, but I didn't have that, so I really don't know. I think it's really unless the drive is running and the program crashes and writes some garbage to the disk, I don't think it was really a problem.
Well, one other thing that's cool is I used to use Jeff Francis's disk utility, and if you were working with pictures, which I have a lot of, and you came with there was an error, you could skip the error, which was good because you got to save the disk, but unfortunately wherever the error was, if you show that particular picture that had the bad spot in it, there would be missing data. But at least you would save the disk, and that's what I liked about that program.
I don't remember what the program was I used. It was something I typed in out of a magazine, probably Hot Cocoa.
And just so you know, too, we had a couple of responses in the live chat from Mark Siegel. So number one, Mark was just reminding us that the Track 17 was actually Microsoft's decision, not Tandy's, since Microsoft made the disk extended color bases. But our jingle, which is a very catchy jingle, is always going to say Tandy. So even when we're not talking about Tandy, the jingle's always going to say Tandy.
Why did they do that?
Yeah, but I don't know. Tandy's, it just sounds good. It's got a nice ring to it. So it was Microsoft who made the disk extensions and made that decision. And he also said, Mark Siegel also said, there's no need to open the drive. The power should be off to the head. But it sounds like what you were explaining, Ron Delvaux, was almost like a head crash, which was very common in early generation hard drives, too. I remember, like in the old days of MS-DOS, we used to have to run a utility to park the heads before we shut down the machine, because you wanted the spindle to spin the head all the way to the inside and put the thing down before we turned it off and transport, because you were really worried about the platter shaking and the head scratching the surface and stuff. So it almost sounds like what you're explaining there by opening a door is we're preventing a head crash on the media that could corrupt a sector of the disk or whatever, right?
On a floppy drive, the heads do always touch the disk surface anyway.
Okay. So there's no retraction there.
Yeah, the heads are always crashed.
Okay. It just, it's amazing when you think about all the ways things have worked on computers, starting with paper tape to then magnetic tape to floppy disks to hard disk. It's just amazing crap ever worked in the first place half the time when you think about it. So.
On the Track 17 thing, and I've got another train here.
Woo-hoo!
The track, if you look at the Apple II, if you've ever seen how it responds, I think it has had the directory on Track 0 originally.
Yeah, original Apple DOS is on Track 17 also.
No, it's on Track 17?
Yeah, Pro DOS is different because it was designed for, hard disks.
Hard disks, okay. Yeah, I know one of them, it spends a lot of time seeking.
Isn't it the same for Model 1, 3, and 4s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Al Hartman has joined us.
Hello. You can specify on certain DOSes where to put the directory, but the default was Track 17 because when the Model 1 disk drives first came out, they were very slow, 35 millisecond drives, so the head would step very slowly, and they were only 35 track drives. They weren't 40 track drives until Tandy went to the Tandon TM100As and their own Texas peripheral drives later. So then they were 40 track drives, and we still left the directory on Track 17 because that was standard. You didn't want to confuse the DOS if you swapped the disk out. But there's on the Tandy DOSes for the Model 1 and the Model 3, and the Model 4, there's a byte on Track 0 that tells the DOS where the directory track is. And there used to be a program called Super Utility that would back up the directory also to another track. So you could do that also, which was
I always wondered what that was for.
Super Utility. Super Utility was an indispensable tool for Model 1, Model 3, and Model 4 because it would repair files, it would repair directories. It would back up disks. It would format disks. It had a diagnostic program built in. It really was a super utility, and it was one of the things I missed on the Coco, and it probably was what inspired Jeff Francis to write his disk utility.
So we got a couple of, just want to say real quick, we got a couple of funny comments here, especially from Ken Reichert, best known as the brother of Jason Reichert. But one of the things Ken was saying is, hey, James, what track is that train on? So a little floppy humor for you there. And then the other one was, pardon me, James, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? So there we go. So there's a little thing to go with the
that was the Union
train
Pacific
humor there.
Choo-choo.
Union Pacific choo-choo, huh? All right. The only thing that this discussion right now is missing is David Ladd, Lord of the Floppy. We have just morphed into floppy talk, and David is not here.
Where's that commercial? I would just like to point out that my floppy is bigger.
Is that an 8-inch floppy?
That's you get your 5 1/4, and here's the 8-inch.
Listen, sometimes size matters. So, but of course, it's hard to get an 8.5-inch floppy in a 5 1/4-inch slot. So,
does your head rest on the media?
What was that, Ron?
Does your head rest on the media on an 8-inch?
That's a really personal question, isn't it?
It's a good question. It's pertinent to what we're talking about, is it not?
Well, considering this is the only piece of 8-inch floppy technology I have that I picked up off the free table at CoCoFest, this is about as far as my knowledge goes. This is my oversized giant novelty disc. Other than that,
notches on the side.
That's the floppy equivalent of an 8-track. So
there's a little notch down. There's a couple little notches down here, but I don't know.
Should they have notches on the side like a 5-inch?
Yes, I remember though. They work the opposite though.
I believe the answer is when you've got 8 inches, you do whatever the hell you want.
Well, you don't know.
You did go there.
This is not an After Dark episode.
So earlier, our good friend Karen Sixie in the UK, creator of X-Roar, by the way, and many other fine Dragon products. But he says that on Dragon DOS that it's a similar thing where they're on track 20, which is halfway up the disk. But he says with a backup on track 16, but he never says that never really proved to be very useful. So I think, was Microsoft involved in Dragon DOS, or was that somebody else? I don't know who did.
I thought they did that themselves.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Dragon DOS was not Microsoft.
Okay, there you go. So
it wasn't just one.
But it sounds like they're doing a similar thing, and I think the simple answer is if you're in the middle, you've only got to go halfway in either direction to access either side of the disk. So strategically, it makes sense. Have you ever played racquetball, Ron?
Me?
Yeah. Well, especially like indoor racquetball, the best place to be is center court, because again, if you've got to run and chase the ball, you only have to go halfway either way if you're center court. So I guess that's the mentality of it there.
Does that mean that the Dragon, if you have a Dragon, you can't read a standard Tandy disc?
Yeah, they're different. They're different formats.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought they were the same. Yeah,
different formats.
When Paul Barton was making the 8 meg upgrade for me, he was talking about how there's memory, and then there's video memory, and like there's 2 separate things on the memory card, which I thought was interesting.
On a PC, you mean?
Yeah, no, on the what he was making for me, that there's
wasn't a no cam.
Yeah, the 8 megabyte board.
Oh, because Coco video memory, for at least on the Coco 1 and 2, that all has to be in the bottom 16 or 32K of RAM, right? The VDG RAM is mapped to the first 16K, I think.
Well, I've entered the Twilight Zone because actually I don't know what I speak of.
Okay.
I'll just put it out there.
Yeah, I have a vague. I think I've got a. Yeah, I think I have a vague, and maybe Nick Marentes or Bill could speak in on this. But when you've got something like even 512 or 2 megs or 8 megs, isn't the VDG RAM, like with the Coco 1 and 2, isn't that RAM always part of the first 64K?
On the Coco 3, no, you can put
the Coco 1 and 2.
Oh, 1 and 2.
Coco 1 and 2 is the first 64K. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
it didn't automatically switch out the ROM either, so you couldn't have it underneath the video on RAM underneath the ROM if you were in BASIC.
So, but on a Coco 3 with 8 megs of memory, if you're doing Coco 3 graphics, can the Coco 3 graphics screen be relocated anywhere in RAM you want it to be?
The Coco 3 video display is always in the lower 512, anywhere in the 512.
Yes.
The 8 megabytes, well, you can move it around in that as well, but I mean, it's only because it's effectively banking 512K around in that 8 meg of RAM, isn't it?
So it's in chunks, huh?
Yeah, so you can access, you can point the video RAM anywhere, but it's still being treated as a 512K block. Is that how it's done? Or is it using a DAC extension? I don't know.
It has to be on an even 512K.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you couldn't start it in the middle of some memory spot. Now, but a Coco 3 graphics screen is up to 32K of RAM, correct?
Up to, it actually goes up even higher if you use the full res. Goes just beyond 32K.
So does the fact that the Coco 3 has to manage the MMU and 8K blocks, does that mean that a graphics screen takes up 4 blocks through the MMU?
Not through the MMU.
I mean, you have to use the MMU to access anything outside of 64K anyways, right?
Yeah,
because
you have to do that, yeah.
And that MMU is always dealing in 8K blocks.
Yeah, but the video display is always a contiguous 32 or up to 34, I think, contiguous RAM. It sits in the 512K memory space anywhere in there. The part we see, or the 6809 sees, is whatever the MMU has mapped. So it's the same block of memory, but it's the part that is accessible by the 6809 that's decided by the MMU settings.
So MMU is a director.
Yeah, Mark Siegel's basically saying here the MMU is used for all memory, so even the lower memory.
Yeah, so you can access any part of RAM, but you build a 64K address space for the 6809 based on all the blocks you choose in that 512K, 8K blocks that you choose in that 512K space. So you make up a 64K space that the 6809 can see.
Starting to sound like a math equation here. So we're taking a 64K space and breaking it up into 8K blocks.
Think about it. You've got 512K. That's how much RAM that the Gimme chip accesses. It's 512K.
Mm-hmm.
Divide that, slice that up into 8K segments, equally into 8K segments. That gives you, 64 blocks all up. 64 8K blocks is what that 512 done. So the MMU allows you to take those blocks and you put them in sequence to make 64K.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the 6809 sees. So you can access any part of the 512, but you pick an 8K block and you decide whereabouts in that 64K area that the 6809 can see. So that's how the bank switching works.
It's kind of panning through RAM.
It's sort of panning through RAM, yeah. Clear as mud?
Yeah. Okay, Mark Siegel also says the Gimme chip can have a 2-layer screen, so it's much more than a 32K screen. So
can have a, what was that?
A 2-layer? A 2-layer screen, so it's much more than 32K.
It can take up to about 4.5 or so blocks of RAM, of 8K MMU blocks of RAM, yeah.
Is that what double buffering is?
No. Well, double buffering's another. It's like the video display can only take up to about 30. I have to work it out. I haven't got a calculator here. But if you do 225, which is the maximum vertical res, multiplied by 160 bytes, that's how much RAM. Hang on, I've got a calculator now. So 225 multiplied by 160 is
36.
36K.
36.
So that's the maximum size. So it is just over 32K. That's the biggest display you can allocate, and that's 4.5 or so blocks of 8K of MMU RAM.
There you go.
Is this what they do with other PCs like Commodore, and they all have the same kind of management under 64K, basically?
Well, the Commodore 64. No, Commodore 64 only accesses 64K, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just reading on the VIC chip, the VIC 2 chip for the Commodore 64. It can only do 16K at a time, so you have to have everything fit within 16K, and they can flip the blocks.
Yeah, it's a much simpler. Yeah.
Seems like was this always an issue of an 8-bit thing where memory had to be kind of segmented and dealt with in these segments? Because even in the early ages of MS-DOS, we had to deal with RAM in segments.
Well, I guess it was, yeah.
Yeah, because like the original PC, even if you had 640K, they were 64K segments because I guess of the addressing about it. So
that was really the processor trying to be backward compatible with the 8085.
Okay. Yeah, but and I think and again, I'm not the expert here, so we'll defer to people like Nick and Bill and stuff. But I think the difference between how the Coco does graphics and other things like the Commodore is that everything the Coco does is done in RAM. So when you're looking at something on the screen graphically, it's just manipulating bits and bytes of information in RAM. And so the CPU has to manipulate large blocks of RAM. With something like the Commodore and things that had sprites, and the way they did graphics was different. It wasn't bit by bit as far as how much RAM was needed to do things. So the Commodore could probably move a larger image on screen faster than the Coco could because it didn't have to deal with every single block of RAM that had to be moved, right? So
the sprites are pretty small on the Commodore, but it still has bitmap graphics too. What it lets you do is your player elements just are handled. They're literally done in hardware. There's a demo that you could type in BASIC on the Commodore that would have a balloon float across the screen while your BASIC program back, and it goes back to command prompt. You can list a program, load a program, as long as you don't overwrite it. The hardware VIC chip keeps floating the balloon across the screen.
So even when you're back in the BASIC prompt, the balloon's still floating? So it's kind of like a TSR, terminate state resident program that's always running. It's just horizontally scrolling a sprite.
Yep.
And to move a sprite, was it still like bit shifting if you had to move horizontally? Did you have to do bit shifting to move it that way, or?
No, as I remember, you put in a bitmap graphic, and then you point the VIC chip to it, and then you give it basically coordinates. I think it had like move X and Y movement. So
are you talking the 64 or the VIC 20?
VIC 2 chip on the 64.
Okay, well that had hardware sprites, so all you had to do was update the coordinate for the hardware, where to put it on the screen. So that would be a very small interrupt-driven program.
Yep, and there were hardware interrupts available too with the 6522 and 6526.
The comment by Mark, he says that the Gimme chip can have a 2-layer screen, so it's much more than 32K. I don't understand what he means by a 2-layer screen.
I think he's thinking of the Amiga.
Well, that one can have
that had
what?
A dual. Yeah, that had a.
Are we talking about multiple?
Are
we talking about multiple page? Kind of like on the Coco 1 and 2, you have multiple pages. Are we talking about more than one 32K page of graphics, or?
Yeah, you'd either be talking about double buffering or a field. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm only aware of one actual bitmap layer, so I don't know what he means by a 2-layer screen.
Yeah, I think he's thinking of the dual playfield on the.
Yeah, on the Amiga, that's a dual play field, but no, it's not. I designed it. He says he designed 2 layers. Well, I mean, one thing I can say is, if it has these features, then why didn't Tandy document that? I mean,
you guys are the ones who are programming this thing every day, so.
That's right. And so I'm thinking, well, if there's 2 layers, why hasn't anyone found 2 actual separate bitmap layers? Is this like the 256 color mode? No, I've never seen it, and people like Sockmaster would have found that. So, I mean, this
Perhaps
almost sounds like...
Yeah, maybe this is a semantic issue. Maybe what he means by layers is not what we think.
I think.
Well, that's what I'm wondering too. Yeah. Well, what does he mean by 2 layers?
What is a layer? Is a layer? Are we talking about like parallaxing now, foreground and background? Or are we talking about pages, multiple graphic pages?
Mark, come on here and tell us.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we want to know.
And while you're here, tell us about the 256 color mode you said exists.
He says the demo with the ball used it. Which demo with the ball? Stockmasters? Because that was just all page flipping too, right?
Yeah, that wasn't 2 layers. That was Sockmaster trickery.
Yeah, that's just you're just anding and oring with the background and stuff.
Well, even my Popstar Pilot effectively has it looks like there's 2 layers. You know, the blue scrolling background underneath the text. It looks like it, but that's all trickery. It's not 2 layers.
All right. Well, if he could join us, it would be nice to have you on here where you could verbalize this, because it's kind of hard for us to be talking and you typing.
Yeah.
There was a hardware 2-layer.
Okay. Well, we can ask Steve then.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get more information on this, and maybe we can plan to have you on, Mark. I mean, to get you on here where you can speak with us too, because that'd be interesting to hear about that.
There's 2 hardware layers. I mean, I find that hard to believe, but we'll need to.
Now Steve Bjork just chimed in and says, I never used a 2-layer. So
there you go.
I don't know what's going on here.
To make sense.
I'm just going to go on record to say that I have 0 expertise, so I'm making no claims.
Well, I'll believe Steve.
Okay, there's speaking of bouncing ball, we have Ron Delvaux with the bouncing ball in the background right now. Ron, how many
that background? Yeah,
how many layers? How many layers you got there, Ron? That looks like 9 layers to me. This is like a cake now. We have a 9-layer chocolate cake. So death by chocolate.
That is all 1 layer. It was used in the last Ninja.
Paul Fiscarelli says that was used in the last Ninja. Huh? The 2 layers effect. I don't know. Okay. Well, all right. Well, Mark, we'd love to have you on sometime where you can give us some of that information. But
that's right.
So let's get back to the original question. We started off talking about the floppies. Why was the floppy at Sector 17? Have we satisfied your curiosity, Ron Delvaux?
Absolutely.
Is more citation needed as far as why floppies are typically, the directory tracks are typically about halfway through the disk?
No, it's old technology, basically.
It's old technology. Now, one of the things you guys were talking about too, I forgot which system you said where it had a backup track of the directory at the end of the disk, but what's happening now on modern PCs? Because for the longest time, Windows hard drives were partitioned using what's known as MBR, or master boot record. But the newer 64-bit way of doing that is now it's called a GPT, or a GUID partition table, which allows for larger partitions, bigger disks. And what the GPT does is it automatically has a master boot record at the beginning of the hard drive and at the end of the hard drive for redundancy, taking into account that if either spectrum of the disk gets an issue, we've got a redundant copy of our boot record to boot the hard drive. That's not necessarily where the directory is stored, but at least the boot record is in 2 places now in modern hard drive file systems.
So does the computer have to sit there and think which one is correct?
No, I think it just happens when it happens at boot time. Because that's down. Yeah, it melts down.
There's probably a checksum on the sector, and so if it's bad, then it goes to the backup one. See if it is that it assumes it's correct, rewrites the first one again.
A decision is made.
Yeah, floppy technology. It's
I see Steve's chimed in again.
Yeah, so if only David Ladd was here, this would be a complete floppy
You're doing a
talk.
good impersonation of him, I think, right now.
ESP, TTL. All right.
Blow up something.
Yeah.
He's,
all right.
Steve Bjork, he's in the chat there.
Yeah, I see him, and I see him in the chat. I'm not.
Join us, or?
Yeah, Steve, are you going to join us? And also, I don't know, Steve, if you saw my response to your email. I have the slides queued up, but I just think it's the title card needs to be updated because I think it still says lesson 5, but it's lesson 6. But other than that, I have those slides if we're going to do that assembly segment. All right, have we beat this one to death?
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. Back to the 2-layer.
All right. So let's get back to the 2-layer graphics.
I use 2-layer on Funstar.
I see Steve is saying it's in there like 256 color. only in your head, in your mind.
All right. Well, we're going to run a commercial, and we'll be back with more CoCoTALK. So don't go anywhere, boys and girls.
Potty break.
Hi, this is Max Jackson live from CoCoFest. And you listen to The Real Gamer, StevieStrow.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Noble,
Here we go.
co-author of Nitrous 9. You are listening to CoCoTALK Live, the leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good day, mates. This is Nick Marentes, author of such color computer titles as Donut Disaster, Rupert Rhymes, and Rockstar Pilot. And I am here today to tell you about the world's most fabulous operating system, OS 9. OS 9 and its current incarnation Nitrous 9 is the most advanced operating system ever created. And what makes it so good? Ease of use. I find OS 9 so incredibly intuitive that I haven't once cracked open the user manual. And yet I've been able to create such incredible games faster than the time it takes to sing Waltzing Matilda.
With 2 layers.
Using OS 9, I expect my next game, Funstar, will be done this weekend and distributed exclusively on ROM cartridge. OS 9 forever.
Any resemblance to actual events to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
Look at that artwork.
What's going on, everybody? The original gamer StevieStrow here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's IMA. Coconut.com. Tell them the original gamer StevieStrow sent you. Coco forever, people.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
This year, I needed to give a real family pleaser.
Honey, please help me with this budget.
How about a new game, Dad? Please.
And I found it. Radio Shack's Color Computer 2. On sale for just $99.95. It entertains, educates, manages. It's expandable.
TV
and
not included.
Affordable. Now that really pleases me.
The Color Computer 2. Sale priced for Christmas. Only at Radio Shack.
With 2 layers.
Is that what the 2 in Color Computer 2 meant, or was that what the second layer was added? All right, we are back. Well, Mark, I just want to say again, we'd love to have you on and get you on verbally where we can have a little bit more directly interactive discussion. All right, so we're back. We have just finished a Why Did They Do That segment, and hopefully we've answered questions and created others, because any good discussion leaves you wanting more, right? So
I want more.
I want more. I want to know. Bruce, I got the video that you sent me. Do we want to go ahead and pull up Bruce's video?
More.
Do you want to take a minute to explain to us what we're about to see, Bruce Moore?
Sure. I just did a little screen capture of my development process in Basic 09 in MAME.
Okay.
Yeah.
Development process. So this is like your development environment?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm waiting on the video to come up.
Here's my demo of how I use MAME for fast development. So you can see I've got a batch file open here. with a whole bunch of crap in it, I guess you could say, for setting up MAME. I have to specify the ROM path. I'm using a CoCo 3. I specify, in this case, I'm using OS 9, so I specify floppy disk, flop 1, and I say where it is, and that's the boot disk
Ease
for
of use.
the hard drive image. Flop 2 is where my own code goes, a DSK file, so floppy disk 2. And that, I happen to be using the Phoenix IDE. I mean, it could be any disk, really, anywhere. It doesn't have to be the Phoenix. And then, of course, and then following that, I'm specifying the actual, in this case, the VHD file. This is a ease of use alpha 3, I think. And then there's a couple of other interesting switches for the keyboard. Unimode, F12, that lets me, I map the screen lock key for getting into different options to the F12. There's an auto boot command, and inside quotes, you'll see /n, DOS/n. Those /n's are carriage returns. So I get MAME to automatically type DOS for me, so it fires up OS 9 as soon as it goes turns on. And then you'll see the no throttle. It's going to run this sucker full blast. I'm not sitting around waiting for 5 minutes for everything to load up. And then at the end of the line, you'll notice I've got a playback option with a switch, PB, and a name. Now, initially, I used record and the rec switch and a name. And what I did is I recorded my keystrokes in Nitrous 9 here, and where I told it to load up the items off of my disk. And so it recorded that. And now when I...
Hold on one second here, Bruce. I believe this is now time for my brain to explode here real quick. Steve Kahn 5. Steve Kahn 4. Steve Kahn 3. Steve Kahn 2. Woo woo! The whistle's blowing.
The great part is once all this is done and I press play, it's
yeah, no, I'm following you. I just felt this was a very appropriate time to show that off. Okay, so
all right, fair enough.
So what I do here is I capture this, and then I inject that, and then I do this, and I do... Whose head's ready to explode at this point? Now, this is kind of cool. All right, so we're now... so the grid is where you had recorded your keystrokes, and now you're playing those back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. On with the video. Sorry for the interruption. I couldn't resist.
I run this batch file. The whole sucker loads up super fast. So I can go to my IDE in this case. I can make a code change, and I can hit go on this batch file, and boom, within, I don't know, 10 seconds, I get to see whether my code change worked or not. So maybe we should just see this in action here. I could just run this batch file, but if I do it from the Phoenix IDE, that might be interesting to see.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because I haven't gotten very far in this.
So we're going to get that loaded up here.
So you've got your Phoenix launching that batch file.
That's right.
Okay.
This actually takes
Phoenix seems to have a lot of hooks for stuff like that.
Code generating
so
action.
My project here I've got called Arena. And in post build, this is where that shrunk up on me there. This file here is where I tell it to run the batch file essentially. So I got a bunch of code here. This is basic 09 code. I've got some assembler code over here. These things are all going to end up on that floppy disk, virtual floppy disk that's going to be loaded in MAME. When I hit go, when it runs that batch file, here it goes. Batch file running. Boom. Here comes MAME.
No throttle.
Running unthrottled. You see how fast everything's flying.
Wow, look at that. Okay.
Okay, there's a little pause here while MAME now picks up its own little recording that I typed in. That basic 09 just flew by, I loaded that, and then my stuff's all loaded up. So then I just have to hit that F12 key to change the keyboard emulation, hit F10 to turn the throttling off so I can actually type properly, and then I do run test, which I'm not actually going to run just now because I don't want to give away what I'm doing.
Okay.
And then I just hit escape to get out, and I'm back, so I can see, whether my code worked or not.
So this is the ease of use methodology of development. That's pretty impressive, I got to say, though.
It took me a while, obviously, to get that stuff sorted out. But once it's sorted out, like the turnover in the development is so fast, right?
Yeah.
It takes all the annoying parts of it out of it.
Yeah.
So
I can very quickly make a little change, hit go. Oh, there's an error. I can go back and fix it. It doesn't take me 10 minutes each time to load up OS 9, load up Basic 09, load up all my code, see if it compiles. It does that all real quick using the MAME at no throttle. So, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well,
if anybody wants that batch file or something, I'd be happy to give
Yeah.
it.
Well, you just reminded me of something. I'm going to show you something. What I'm doing is nowhere near as elaborate as the Phoenix IDE or that super batch file, but I will show you one thing here on mine. So, as I'm working on Cosmic Aliens, the tool I've been using, which is not publicly available to everyone yet, but this is a tool that John Strong has been giving me. All right. And so one of the things that you'll see here is that this is his tool. It's called Disk Tool. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay. So I've got my Aliens 19 disk mounted already. So when I click on that, here's the directory of my disk. And just real quick, like if I wanted to see the source code, I can double click the source code, and here's the editor for the source code. All right. So this is the editor I've been using to work on Cosmic Aliens. It's a full screen, basically like your notepad style editor. Up until recently, I had to run a batch file similar to yours to launch MAME, where I had that disk already done. So in my CoCo2 batch file, which is nowhere near as crazy as yours, but when I look at mine, how the hell do I get in here now? So here's my CoCo2 launch, and I go to edit. Okay, so here's mine. So mine does MAME space CoCo2. I'm not specifying any of the paths like you are because I'm running mine from the same folder as MAME. Right. So I type in MAME space CoCo2. That's the machine. I do a flop1 aliens disk, and then I'm just doing a skip game info similar to yours, so you don't get that little pop-up saying you're running a CoCo2. So that mine was real simple. So I used to just do the editing in John's tool and then run that batch file. What John has just given me now is a launch button here from his little disk editor. So now I can launch it in MAME or VCC. And when I click on MAME now, this will actually launch it. Now, the only thing this is not doing now is like typing in like you did, where it typed in DOS or run. So I would actually like to learn from you from what you just showed me, and I'll play back your video later on.
But now simple switch. Yeah.
So now the fact that you can record keystrokes and inject those to the launch file, that's really making MAME it's like putting an auto-exec bat file in MAME.
That part's easy. Yeah.
And that's what I need to do now is I need to be able to do that. That would just make this much easier, right? So no, that's pretty cool. I tried messing around with the Phoenix IDE, and it's a little bit over my head as far as some of the things I wanted to be able to do with it. And am I going back into full screen? But no, that's pretty cool. And I think some people kind of grasp that. If you're not already working in a development environment, maybe some of that's a foreign language to you. But speaking of development environments, we've got legendary game designer Rick Adams with us here on the program. Hey, Rick, how are you?
Hello there. How's it going?
Can we get a thank you? You're too kind.
Yeah. It's the George Carlin Sound-Alike contest right here. Wonderful Rhino in Western Walla Walla.
That's pretty good.
All right, so what is Kieran saying right now? So James Jones was saying the auto boot command was way cool to not have to deal with Disk Basic is something I always wanted. And then Kieran saying most things you can just test with other emulators, myprogram.bin. As soon as weird loaders are required, that doesn't work really well. So I think 6C's talking about XROR, where you can drop a bin file right into XROR. You could just launch xterm vim. I got your 60 says I got your dev environment right here. Xterm vim make I got your dev environment right here. All right, so Rick, you're doing something probably similar but different to what Bruce just showed us with his convoluted cockamamie batch file there. So
I just saw a little bit of it.
Yeah. So what are you doing? Because you're doing stuff on the Raspberry Pi, and you're working on assembly code and making it, or
right?
Is that I'm using name on the Pi you're using.
MPI and make and the what do you call it? The LW tools, LWSM.
Oh yeah.
And using all that, and I'm not using the emulator at all. I was, and then I got an actual Color Computer 3. So now, with DriveWire and all that, so it's pretty easy to get that mounted on the Color Computer 3 and run it on actual hardware, real quick. And so my turnaround is real fast there.
So you're basically your make command is updating a virtual floppy that's mounted in DriveWire. And the minute you update that floppy and you type in dir on the real Coco, you'll be looking at the latest version of that.
Right.
Kind of a dynamic refresh through DriveWire.
Yep.
Okay. So you're doing kind of a hybrid emulator real hardware thing where you're doing most of the stuff an emulator would do, but then you're doing the actual testing on the real Coco. That's pretty creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And the turnaround is just super fast. And so what he was talking about is, in MAME, it's got all of these artificial, switches. Let's make it as slow as it used to be in the old days. And it's like, no, don't do that. Kick out the jams. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, because that's kind of what Bruce did. He did a no throttle on MAME, so it would load up OS 9 super fast. Yeah.
Now, I don't have to deal with that because I'm just going directly to real hardware. So.
Right. So in your case, you're not necessarily speeding up the time it takes to boot OS 9, but you're not dealing with the physical limitations of floppy speed because the DriveWire access to that is going to be faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost
testing on real hardware is real good too because, like, I just ran across a bug that involved changing palettes on the fly, causing little sparklies on the screen.
Ah, you have an 86
and I'd heard
gimme.
about that, but I hadn't experienced it until now. And now it, sort of punched me in the face, and so I had to fix that. And I have to ask myself, if I was using MAME, would that have manifested itself? And I don't know the answer to that.
And the answer is no.
No.
That's what
Nick knows.
Yeah, Nick knows, and also the Pac-Man transcode who did that, Glenn Hewlett, he ran into the same problem where he didn't know the sparklies were there. He had to do a 1.1 update to fix that.
So we can't emulate sparkles?
They could. They were too busy emulating the slowness and the horrible sound of the
floppy disk. Yes. Let's focus on this. It's like medical research. Well, we could find a cure for cancer, but let's make a pill to give grandpa a boner. Hashtag priorities.
What?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Right in the toilet.
Actually, you have that backwards. You have that backwards, Stevie.
What's that?
Originally, it was a heart medication, and they found it had a side effect.
Yeah, side effect / fringe benefit, right? So,
how do you know this?
My goodness.
Hello.
Tell us how you know this.
Yeah. Tim Franklin says you should always verify code on a real machine. But you guys know that.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Emulation is great for speed of development to get that development cycle going, but your final product before you're going to ship it, you're obviously going to want to test it on real hardware, right?
Wait, now, isn't sparkles an extra added feature?
No. Is that anything like adding sprinkles to ice cream?
Yeah.
They go down quick and first.
You know what? I don't know.
Across the screen.
I don't know.
What does it mean?
Right. It means your drugs are kicking in. So it means you need to up the dosage of your blood pressure medication. So Omnistar, your game, which I have had the pleasure of looking at a little bit, and maybe we can reveal something there. Is there, and maybe, I don't know if you know the answer to this, Rick, or maybe Nick Marentes might know, but it would be kind of cool every now and then if there was some type of effect where the screen would shake or the picture would kind of focus and unfocus and stuff. Is there any gimme tricks similar to Sparkles where you can simulate CRT distortion briefly and, phase and unphase it?
That, because that's what I've been adding the last 2 or 3 days.
So
okay. There are probably better and cooler tricks than what I'm using. And I would love to know about that. But I'm making the screen shake.
Okay.
And as you get toward the end game, when you've pretty much taken almost everything down, I have it showing, that it's starting to get really kind of ticked off at you. By intermittently, it changes the palettes.
Okay.
And so it makes the screen like dim, like looks like the power's about to go out.
Ah, yes.
So it's kind of like the lights flickering when you're in an electrical storm. You think, I hope the power is going to hold.
Okay.
That's sort of the feeling I want to get to it. So I'm making the screen shake and I'm making the screen dim. But there are probably cooler tricks than that like weird out the video that I don't know about. And I think I'm about to post, like a plea for, people to, you know any tricks like that? Let me know about that.
Well, while we have Nick Marentes here, Nick, can you think of any tricks that would do a temporary distortion of the screen just to simulate, computer feedback to the CRT or anything?
Oh, simple. All you need is activate the 2 layers and turn on 256 color, and you can.
I'm sorry, I have an appointment with the planet Earth.
Gnomequist has a nice effect with their flat. Don't they have a red flash that appears when you're playing the game?
I haven't seen it yet.
And they have the explosions and.
Oh, well, mine has a red flash, but it doesn't have explosions. So.
Oh.
Steve Bjork is mentioning Canyon Climber. When you blow up that first canyon, the screen kind of shakes, and I think that's because it's changing resolutions back and forth very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they achieve that screen shake effect, but it's very effective.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also
the different video modes are different in size. So it's bouncing between 2 different video modes, a high one and a lower one. So the image is going up and down. If you do it fast enough.
Can you do that on a CoCo 3 when he's on that 640 resolution high-res screen?
I haven't tried it, but there might be a way to do that. I mean, I'd have to.
So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to post a request for, it's kind of like a basic one-liner. You remember those? Here's how to do something cool in BASIC in like one line. Of course, the one line would be 258 bytes long, but it's like, do you have anything, to do anything like that, in 15 lines of assembler code?
Yeah. And I think a few people are posting comments about changing modes with the SAM and the VDG, but this is CoCo 3, so these have to be gimme tricks, not necessarily SAM or VDG
It
tricks,
doesn't have to be, but yeah.
Okay.
Are you doing double buffering?
I'm not doing double buffering at all.
There you could do a double buffering instead of having your screens totally identical and then flipping back and forth, shift one of them up or down.
Right.
And when you
I
flip
am
back
shifting up and down one scan line.
Okay.
Which meant that when it shakes, it would expose garbage.
That's
one scan line on the bottom.
Yeah. That's a good effect.
So I took my, I didn't want that because that looked terrible. So I made my screen clear routine just do one more scan line than it was previously. So it would turn the entire screen and one additional scan line black. So when the screen shakes, you don't see garbage at the bottom.
Okay.
So
and do you synchronize that with the vertical sync and do it so it's all timed clearly? That should give a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't look very good, or?
Well, it looks okay, and there's a sound effect that goes with it too. That's when you're being attacked. It's like you just got hit in the head with a steel beam, and your points went down, and it's like, oh, what happened there? And that it just needed a little bit more. So it used to be you'd hear dink, and then your points would go down, about 10%, and I just wanted a little bit more. So now the screen shakes, and you hear dink, and your points go down.
That's cool. I can't wait to see that version if you ever post that.
Now remember,
it's posted now.
If your Coco sparkles for more than 4 hours, contact Nick Marentes.
That sounds like a cereal. Cocoa Sparkles. Part of this balanced breakfast.
Maybe he has it confused with Tinkles.
In Jersey, we call
please
it
not.
giving, actually.
It looks like Roku is a few seconds behind on us there, Ron Delvo. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it in your background there. That's okay.
Yeah.
We have somebody watching us on Twitch by the name of Crispy Sausage.
Twitch?
And Crispy Sausage says, I like this show. I love it. All right, thank you. Yeah, Twitch. When you get too many gimme sparkles, you start to twitch from having those seizure effects, right? So, and Coco Man says, my home internet died. Let's all pause for a moment of silent meditation as we mourn the loss of Jason's internet connection. All right, so yeah, that'd be interesting to see some. I can't wait to see the current version. So, Rick, can we reveal the fact? Can we reveal something that happened recently with Omnistar that I was able to achieve? Is that?
Yes, you can.
All right. So I guess we can. So Rick Adams is working on his latest game called Omnistar, and Rick posted a picture on Facebook saying he was the first person to beat the game. But of course, he's the author of the game, so he's got a little bit more access to it. But I've also been playtesting it, and I am now the second. I am the second person and the first person who's not the author to beat Omnistar.
Civilian, yes.
The first civilian to beat Omnistar. So
And you didn't even rage quit.
I didn't rage quit. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So the question is, did I get past level 1? Yes, I did. And so
which
those
means that the game must not be very balanced very well if you didn't rage quit.
Yeah. You got to crank up the difficulty.
Well, I worry about that because for a while I couldn't beat it. And it's like, well, if I can't beat it, it's not a good game because, nobody can beat it, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that's not necessarily true because I'm not that great of a gamer. But it did make me worry. So it's like, okay, I did beat it, so it is actually possible.
It is winnable.
So, Steve beat it, and he beat it too soon. I think maybe I need to make it tougher. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll
I got. So there's definitely a cerebral component to this game, and there's a strategy to this game, and so I got very lucky that I had the right programs. That I figured out which programs did the most damage. I figured out which program could heal those programs. And so I kind of got into this rhythm where I was alternating between two scripts to take out nodes. And then when they both got down to about 10 to 20%, I would then boost them back up, which also boosted up the other script. That's your smart bomb. So I got lucky that I had all the right programs in my arsenal and I figured them out. And it took me about 4 playthroughs to get to that point where I had all the right programs. And so that run, I was literally doing a very systematic run around the spider web and just took at it node by node in a very systematic way. And I had all the right tools in my tool belt to get the job done. But you don't always get those that way.
Points.
Yeah.
A couple of points. I can tell by the way that you were talking about various things that you may or may not completely understand what all the different programs do.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of great if you could make up for me a list of your current understanding of what they all do.
Yeah, and I won't do that on the air. So
right, exactly. And I just want to see how close you are. And the other thing that kind of worries me is that I think that smart bomb may be too handy.
Too smart?
I actually intended for it to be a one-time only thing.
Okay.
You would set it off.
And one
then
and
it
done.
would disappear from your inventory.
Okay, well that would
change.
If that was the case, I probably wouldn't have won as quickly as I did.
Rick, I didn't think some Forest to Doom code you can drop in there, and that should confound Stevie.
So I actually thought that there weren't enough resources to use that smart bomb more than once. So, which is why I didn't take it out of the inventory.
Okay.
Because another thing about that was that it was too mysterious. It's like you would set it off, everything would go kablooey, and then it would be gone. And it's like, well, where'd it go?
Yeah,
So I figured, they'll only get to use that once. Well, you got to use that several times. So I'm not. I may have to adjust that somewhere.
Well, I mean, if I hadn't used it several times, I think I still probably could have won. But this helps speed up the process.
Right.
So, but that's to be determined. So actually what I'll do if I can find those same scripts again, I'll try it without the smart bomb and see.
Right.
Of course, now I'm going to be on a different version anyway. So maybe I should try on the same version before I update it, just to see if my...
Well, no, the balancing of the game is not really any different.
Okay.
It's just that I added some chrome.
Okay.
It looks prettier.
Okay.
And it has maybe a little more sound effects and, video effects and things like that.
Yeah.
So not that much different.
Well, I got to say, it's been fun playing that game. And
well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So, very cool. Excellent. All right. Well, hey, Nick, do you have a core dump for us? We haven't got to news yet either, but did you have a core dump discussion?
I could probably, all right. Yeah, let's throw one in and see what comes out. Yeah, all right. Bring up the graphics.
Well, we're gonna take a commercial break first. So
Okay.
I just wanted to check with you before we did that. All right, so we're gonna take a commercial break. We'll come back with a here's a little teaser here. We're gonna come back with soundboard's not working, but yeah, we're gonna come back with a core dump after these words from our corporate sponsors. So we'll be back.
Hello, this is Great Leighty with CoCoTALK. Got your Coco 3 yet?
Hi, this is the award-winning Alan Huffman of Subby the Software, and you're watching Stevie Fall Off Cliffs.
Not making it past level 1.
Hey, have you got your Coco 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer CoCoTALK here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer CoCoTALK sent you.
Radio Shack has a great gift idea for the whole family. Fast action TV games, and they're on sale. Get this 6-game model for $29.95 or the 4-game model for $21.95. With rising entertainment costs, that's a real bargain. You play hockey, tennis, squash, and more. Easy to hook up and great family fun that lasts all year long. The sale price TV games. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Ooh.
What is squash?
Squash? Is that kind of like a racquetball or tennis style game?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And it was one of those games that, those multi-pong games, they included supposedly 128 different games in it.
Which is 127 variations of Pong.
and they just called one squash, and they called then you had hockey, and it was like, okay, well, you've got gold now.
Yeah. We have somebody watching us on Mixer, which is another live streaming service called XX ProGamer123 says hi. So hey, and Hamster Man is here too on Mixer. Say hello to you guys watching us on Mixer. Yeah. So James Jones is saying, hey, is that Charles Napier? He said, did he have a screwdriver out while he was saying easy to hook up? Yes, it's ease of use, right? You just screw on this connector to your TV. There's Rick Adams' development environment, including the Coco 3 on the right. The real hardware, right? Nothing beats real hardware. That's what she said. All right, so we have in our midst from Australia, Nick Marentes is going to host a core dump segment with us, which is a little technical discussion that we'll get into. But we could not start this discussion without our professional show infographic and theme music, so here we go. It's time for Core Dump, hosted by Nick Marentes. Take it away, Nick.
Core dumping. Okay, well, this week I've got myself involved in the Window Master program by Circomp. Does anyone remember that program from back in the 80s?
Yeah.
It's written by Bill Vagona. He wrote other programs like EdTasm 3 and what else? C Basic as well. But
Is he related to Abe Vigoda, the guy who played Fish on Barney Miller? There's a reference for you.
Anyway, Ron posted a picture up in Facebook a couple of weeks ago with a screenshot of Ron's got a copy of Window Master, the latest version 3, and he put a few screenshots up there, and that reminded me. I said, hang on, I've got that program. I might fire it up and have a look at it. So I went through my software archives, and I found I do indeed have a copy of Window Master, which I think I acquired years ago from someone who was selling all their color computer stuff, and I just bought all his stuff. And one of the things was a copy of Window Master. So I've got the manual and I've got the disk, but lo and behold, the disk doesn't work. After 30 years, that's right, my copy of that disk you're looking at now is now just dead. So I couldn't use it. So I've been wanting to see this Window Master program, which is basically a program which creates a desktop environment, or rather, it gives you additions to the standard RS-DOS for being able to program a Windows GUI-like environment. And there's a few shots there. So you can, under Basic, create a multi-view type environment whereby you open up windows, pull down menus and all that. I thought, well, that'd be pretty cool. And the stuff that Bill Vagona has always written has always been high quality. I've seen his other programs in the past. So I thought maybe this Windows Master would be useful for any future programming I do. But lo and behold, as I said, my disk is faulty. So it turns out that Bill Vagona has got a website that actually advertises you can still apparently buy all the Circomp software.
Okay.
So I contacted that website, and Bill did reply. He's selling the Windows Master for $55, which a little bit steep, but I really wanted to try this program. But $55 was a bit steep, I thought, for something I didn't really know if it was going to be any good anyway. So I downloaded a copy. There's a freebie copy of the Coco archives, but unfortunately, it hasn't worked. I've loaded on my Coco 3 and tried to run it, and all it does is just locks up. So it doesn't seem to work. And it turns out, of course, that Bill has put a lot of heavy copy protection on the disk. Yeah, that's right. It's copy protected. Obviously, it must check that if you've got the original disk. Yeah. And it locks up. So, which is a shame. I really wanted to try this. So I contacted Bill and I said, look, Bill, I want to buy this program. I've got it, but I want to buy it again so I can try it because it looks good.
You had an original physical copy.
I have an original. I've got it right in front of me right now. Yeah. But the discs after 30 years have just died, so I can't load the software. So, I mean, I was hoping I could get a free disc, but better still, I said, look, Bill, I don't have a floppy disk. Do you have a non-copy protected disk so I can run it on a Coco SDC or an emulator? You know, I mean, nowadays that's the way it is now. Most people have a DS, need to access a DSK on a Coco SDC or an emulator. I haven't heard back as yet. Okay. So this then is the purpose of my discussion here is, when is copy protection actually impractical? Because here he's got copy protection with the purpose that it prevents the program from being copied so that he gets more sales. But now that may have worked okay maybe in the 80s where the copy protection was a real problem. But nowadays, I don't think we really need this copy protection. Because of the copy protection, I'm not going to buy a software package I can't run on my Coco SDC. So
right.
That's the thing I'm battling with now. That I have an original. Even if he was to replace it for me, he would replace it with a floppy disk. Well, that's no good for me. You know, I want an uncopy protected version I can run on my Coco SDC. So what do people think of that?
All right. Well, Sixy has Karen has responded saying there is a disk format that's known as DMK that does support copy protection. That should also work on an emulator or possibly Coco SDC.
Okay. Now I've tried that with Ron yesterday. We tried to actually a few experiments and trying to copy that and create DMKs, but failure. It just didn't work. So I think on the Coco Archive site there is a DMK version of it, which you need to convert to an SDK profile for the Coco SDC, which I did that as well, but it still just locks up. So I don't understand what's wrong, why I can't get it to work. But it's just frustrating that there's that copy protection which is actually preventing me from being able to run the program on a modern Coco 3 setup, and it's just counterproductive having the copy protection.
Yeah. So
the answer to that would be either to have the person who sells it or the end user enter the end user's name and a serial number, so that if copies do get out, it can be traced back to the original owner. I wrote software on the Apple II, and we incorporated inside each of the disks on a hidden file a serial number and the name of the person who bought the program. And Charlie had a program he would run, and it would create the signature file so that if copies got out, we could identify whose copy got out.
Now, that's a good idea. I'm just thinking that today's Coco users, I really don't know if we actually need any copy protection at all. I had no copy protection on my Popstar Pilot game, and I think the Coco community now is at a point where they support developers nowadays, and we probably also have a bit more disposable income, so we don't mind spending a bit of paying for software to support developers. So I think in today's Coco world, that's probably not needed. So I'm hoping that Bill will turn around and release a version of that program without the protection and maybe at a lower price point too. I mean, he's got 1980 prices there. So
hey, but it's new original stock.
Well, I've always been interested in this Windows Master, but I've never been able to run it because of my corrupted disk. So I've just got a renewed interest, but I can't go forward.
People that are never going to pay for it are never going to pay for it.
Well, that's right. You don't gain anything by protecting it then. You slow down, I guess, the distribution of it so that not everyone gets a free copy. But nowadays, like I said, I think Coco users are pretty good at supporting other Coco developers. So
at least the ones in America are. I'm not sure about those Canadians.
With all the sophisticated tools and things out there, it's not that difficult anymore to bypass copy protection.
This particular program has something in the mouse driver of the program that forbids you from going any further.
Well, they would just basically write a new piece of code that drops in place of it.
Yeah, somebody'd have to disassemble it and hack it to bypass copy protection.
You have to hack it. I don't think a standalone program it's not a matter of copying the disk. Yeah, you can probably find ways on modern hardware to copy the disk and get through the protection that way. The point is, I don't want it on a floppy disk anymore. Goodbye floppy. I never want to see them again.
You've got a valid case here. You own the original media. You paid for it once. And nowadays, people are not using, other than David Ladd, nobody's really using physical floppies anymore. So so you basically need an Coco SDC compatible version.
I'm keeping David company. I see.
Yeah, I forgot Al Hartman's here too. So the role of David Ladd today is played by Al Hartman. A little bit more here.
The
That's right.
Atari communities had the same type of discussion. A lot of people do not want to buy a cartridge, and there are some of the developers coming out with new games, and they refuse to provide a file-based version of the game.
Digital copy.
A digital copy. They
Right.
only provide cartridges.
This isn't this really up to the developer? I mean, the
developer it is.
wants to be really protective. I mean, we can't.
You
can't do anything about it, right? It's lack of
They're going
benefit.
to steal it. That and the only way they could protect it is by having custom hardware or something. That's really where things are now, and it's just the choice of the developer.
The thing is, this interface would be cool.
That's how they're going to be. It's too bad,
This interface that he made, the Windows Master, would be great for the SDC. It's high res, graphics, and
So
just
so you
like
know,
multi-view on OS 9.
Yeah,
you can now create multi-view stuff, but in RS-DOS, and
So just so you guys know that Hugo DeFort has been working on a project like this too, that he's been sharing the progress on from time to time. So Hugo's been trying to reinvent this wheel of creating this library of pop-up windows and dialog boxes. And so it's basically, it's a GUI dialog box. It's actually a whole GUI environment, right? So so Hugo has been working on this too, and he's been showing the progress where he's got different size fonts and buttons and radio buttons and stuff. So this is the kind of thing where you get into the discussions of OS 9 versus RS-DOS, because OS 9 has all these features built in with system calls. But with RS-DOS, you've got to invent these wheels. And so, but this looks like this is what we call an API, right? So an application programmable interface or a library that we can use these routines to generate our own stuff. It looks cool. I like it. I like the looks of it. Very much reminded me of like what a DeskMate environment. I saw the calendar. It kind of looked like DeskMate and stuff.
Well, all those little calendars and stuff, the extra utilities that are on the disk, are all written in BASIC.
That's impressive.
That's right. What Windows Master does is it gives you all those extra routines, those little APIs, whatever, but it also ties them into extra commands in BASIC. So it's really a BASIC extension. So you've got commands now for doing Windows. You don't have cryptic commands. You can actually tell it to do additional windows, and it does all the overlaying and all that for you. It's pretty impressive. I really want to try it, which is why I was prepared to pay for another copy. But
so now the question isn't even if you can get over the $55 pill you have to swallow, which we can sit here and debate the value of it. And I agree. That's a little bit of a high price tag, because it's basically a program that's already been in existence. If he had developed it today and it was brand new and stuff like that, does that change the value? I don't know. That's kind of hard to say, but
it probably has a limited market as well, because it's obviously only for people who are programmers, which is fair enough. I mean, as a programmer, I'd buy it so I can develop software.
Sure.
I don't know if I create a program and I want to sell that program, how does that mean that everyone who wants to run my program has to go out and buy a copy of Windows Master? I don't know.
That becomes an interesting idea there. What if he licensed it, where you have to pay a royalty to him to every product you sell that uses it? Now, then again, this has to be done on the honor system, because how do you track it?
So I don't think it has that, but I'm just curious to know, how do you distribute any software that you create under Windows Master? Is there a free runtime that programmers can then supply with their program?
Right.
Do you still have the manual, Nick? Because it's probably.
I do. I'm going to read through it. All I've been doing at the moment is trying to get the damn thing to start.
Well,
I'm still on page 1.
Sure. You haven't gotten past page 1. You haven't gotten to level 2 yet. Huh?
That's right. No, I haven't gotten past page 1.
Have you rage quit the manual?
Not yet. I'm getting close.
Can we get a summons for Mr. Vagona?
Abe Vigoda.
He did contact me initially, so he was all right.
That's
there.
good.
But when I tried to now ask him, I've said to him, I said, look, I want to buy it, but can you release a non-copy protected version? Well, I haven't heard back. So
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess the encouraging part is he's around and he's responded once. Maybe you need to rephrase the question in a way that doesn't sound like you're trying to get one that's easy to distribute. Say, listen, I'm going to use this for myself. I'm a developer, and the modern way we do things now is off of emulation and off of the virtual disks. So I would.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
Oh, you did. You did. Okay.
I've done that already.
Okay. So
hopefully he's just been busy and hasn't replied.
Sure.
This would be a good program to have in the community. I mean, if he was to crack it so it doesn't have the protection on it, I reckon it'd be better in his interest. Like, he'll sell a lot more programs. I don't think he's going to sell any at all as it is now.
Well, if you think of it, though, maybe this guy has not had a Color Computer 2, 3, 1, hasn't done anything since all those years ago when he had it, and he has no way to fix it.
Yeah,
okay, well, there are people who could help him.
Well, Steve Bjork, his machine's gone that had all his source code on.
Yeah.
He could do unprotected.
He would be if you get a hold of him, and let's see if we can get him on the show too, because this would be interesting to talk about, just to hear.
Let's all chant his name. Ready?
Abe Vigoda.
Bill Vigoda.
Oh man, Fish. It's Fish from Barney Miller. So
anyway, yeah, it'd be good to see the program out. I think it'd be a very good program for the Coco community to have.
We lost you there for a minute, Nick. You got muted.
Gone.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, am I back?
Yeah, you started to say it'd be a good program for the Coco community.
Yeah, so it'd be good to release this so that it's available for the Coco community. Anyone who wants to write a basic program with Windows, well,
sure,
Window Master,
Yeah, but that also means that it has to be on the Coco 3 to get the level of graphics like that. Yeah,
this is the Coco 3 program. So
okay, and because it adds basic extensions, that's also possible due to the fact that Coco 3 Basic is in RAM, right? So it's just modifying. It's kind of like what MicroWare did. It's just adding on more hacks to the original ROM.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So
from the looks of his website, it looks like he's selling the original. I mean, these are like old copies he had laying around.
Yeah, new original stock. So from a collector's point of view, it would be neat to have an original physical copy. But from a practical point of view, we need functional digital copies.
Well, the only one I know of is, of course, Ron. Ron has a version 3 original disc, so
which he showed. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, if he no longer has a Coco 3 or Coco 2, he may have no way to replace a disc for Nick or to make an image because he doesn't have a computer.
That's what I thought.
Right, but there are people who can help with that, right? So there are ways to now image a physical copy protected disk to a virtual copy protected disk that would still work on the Coco SDC. So we could maintain the virtual copy protection in a format that's compatible with emulators in Coco SDC, right? That technology exists.
Well, one thing we've kind of talked about this whole thing is he has a very successful software protection program, doesn't he?
Yes, because I think you tried to copy it yesterday and copy the disk, make a physical copy of the disk, and that didn't work. So, like we used Backup Magic, I think it was on the archive, and it couldn't do it.
Wow.
Clone M. Spit and image, all kinds of different things won't touch it.
Wow. So all the go-to copy protection copy utilities all failed on this, huh?
Mm-hmm. And my copy only has one copy on good on one side. The back side has another copy, even says so on the label, but it doesn't boot from that side. So I only have one copy.
Hey, I want to say hi real quick to Kyle. I don't know if it's Eater or Eder who's out there in the live chat. He was commenting earlier on the on that video of the guy in the Radio Shack commercial. He says, "I think my dad had that same jacket." Kyle I think he's with us on Discord too, and he recently became a patron too. And, so thanks, Kyle. His name just flashed up on the screen. It was one of our patrons. So thank you. William Carlin is saying, I've never been able to get the disc that is on the Color Computer Archive to work in VCC. Yeah, are you talking about the disc that we're talking about right now, William?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that's probably
there's
because of the
version
copy
one.
protection. Yeah, it's probably because of the copy
version one
protection.
copy on the Coco archive, which I mean that'll do. I just wanted to see what the program's like, but he is selling the latest version 3. So I thought, okay, I'll buy that. But
yeah, okay. Well, hopefully he'll get back to you because this is
yeah.
This would be a useful tool. I think if we go digital. Maybe there's just a different strategy now because you don't have to worry about the physical distribution of media. Maybe we can get the price down. Maybe you can work on some type of licensing deal where, listen, let's say $30 or $40 for a digital copy with the ability to release a runtime. Because why else would somebody buy it? To make something just for themselves? That's a very limited application. But if you're going to make something that you can then redistribute, there's got to be a way to do that too and respect his license where we're not giving away the product or, somehow.
Does anybody know of anything else that's similar to this for RS-DOS? Anything?
As far as turnkey, I'm not aware, but I know Hugo DeFort has been working on creating his own from scratch, and I would imagine at some point in time he may release them, but that's not a turnkey solution as of today. That's neat, though. It's definitely a neat. It's a neat little thing. I'm glad. I tell you what, Ron never ceases to pull something out, a trick out of his hat. He's always got some program. Hey, have you guys seen this? Did you know this? If you guys are not, if you're not following Ron's Garage on Facebook, you should.
You're not with it.
You're not with it. So all the cool kids are doing it. I am going to. How do I get to Ron's Garage right now? Am I on your garage, Ron? I think I am.
First, go to your computer.
Yeah. So I'm going to post a link to Ron's Garage in the live chat.
Yeah.
So for those of you watching, if you're not subscribed to Ron's Garage, and it's free. If you've already got your paid subscription to Facebook, you can get Ron's Garage for free.
And don't miss my Soyzilla.
And somehow the link just got chopped up here, so I'm not sure how that works. Let me try pasting it in YouTube as well. I don't know if that link's going to work. Let me see. Let me click on it, see if it opens. It does open, yeah. So it's weird. YouTube does something where it kind of chops off the link, so it looks like it's broken, but I guess it works. If you can go to Facebook and just do a search for Ron's Garage, too, you'll find it. So
yeah, you will.
Ron's Garage, a bargain at any price.
At any price, right. So
everything's not for sale and it's stacked up in my garage.
Actually, I just searched for Ron's Garage on Facebook and it didn't bring it up.
What?
You
brought up a whole bunch of car repair guys named Ron.
Yeah.
Are you on Facebook Premium? Because we're all on the paid version of Facebook.
That must be on New Jersey Facebook.
No, I'm on the Facebook with 2 layers.
Maybe you've got to contact my cousin Iggy. To get you in there.
Well, I got it from Stevie's link, so that.
No, there
you go. There you go.
And I friended Ron, depending on whether or not he accepts my request.
Oh, Ron, you going to accept Al's friend request?
See if we can do that.
Ron's very scrutinizing. He's not friends with just anybody now.
Well, that's okay, because I'm not friends with anybody.
He's only friends with people that come to his house and wire wrap all kinds of memory upgrades for him. All right, good topic there, Nick.
Okay, Al, you're in.
It was just off the cuff.
Yeah. So hopefully we will hear back. And let me just pull that up one more time for those who may be just joining us late. And by the way, here, I'm just going to pull up your whole garage page real quick, Ron, because you got all kinds of cool stuff on here. So before we do that, how about we do this? Because I've got a Ron's Garage little intro graphic here. Proper music. All right, so we're going to take a not a deep dive, but we're going to dip our toes into the waters that is Ron's Garage. So hold on one second. All right, so now I got, there we go.
There you go.
And where is the Panic on Funkotron? All right. Get your groove on, people. Oh, yeah. It is time to take a peek into the Facebook group of Ron's Garage. featuring the eclectic retro collection of Ron Delvaux. All right, so.
Yeah, my son did that when he was 12.
There we go. So what we're going to do here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So here's what Ron's Garage Facebook page looks like. I'll just move the browser over here. And so you get a little handsome picture of Ron DeVoe up here, right? Handsome gentleman. Yep. And as we scroll down here, here's a picture of Ron DeVoe updating his Coco SDC to version 0.50. This is what you were asking about before, Ron. How were you?
My CoCoZilla.
Oh, and these pictures.
No, this is not Coco.
This is these pictures are very small. You mentioned these were done on a very low fidelity,
an early camera. You know.
Yeah, that looks good though. Wow, Godzilla scales and stuff on there.
Yeah,
Soyzilla, huh? That's cool.
Yeah, and it was a 900 megahertz PC. It was state of the art at the time.
Wow,
and
just before
that makes those PCs wanted me to come up with something on a case, so I lettered those cases up, and he kept a couple for himself and gave one to this radio personality guy. Supposed to be the fastest computer at the time, and
world's fastest computer.
And he got advertisement out of it.
That's cool. And so you got all kinds of pictures here. Your Tandy laptop, your TRS-80 Model 1. Here's our good friend Paul T. Barton putting wires on things.
Yep.
And here it is. So here was the post. So Window Master 3.0 RS-DOS window utility works well, right? So the guy's name is Bill Vagona. I really hope we hear back from Bill. And it would be really neat if we can get a way to distribute this in a modern way where he can be compensated and people can benefit from using this. That would be kind of cool, right? So, yeah, SurComp, right? So this looks really cool. You got these little pop-up windows here with a bomb. Here's a little warning. If you're going to format your drive here, warning, you're going to lose everything on here. Yes or no?
Drive perfectly.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty neat, right? And here's it looks very much like a DeskMate or Multiview or one of these things, right? So it looks good, right? You got these little icons here for a binary file versus a data file. That is pretty cool. This is cool. This to me very much looks like a DeskMate, right? You see your little calendar, right? And all these things are done in BASIC.
And you can actually put, notes in each one of the days and
there's different size fonts here too. So this looks like a mixture of like 40 column and 80 column based on the fonts here.
I think it supports some scalable font type stuff.
Yeah.
And it also has a low res version that has blue and then red for color.
Okay. And you notice here too that he put the thing on both sides of the disc. So because the Coco drives were not double sided, this was a common thing where you would cut out a notch in the floppy and then use a little hole puncher and punch another hole in the other side of that to be able to record on both sides of the disc. So because disc can go bad and stuff, he basically gave you 2 copies on one disc.
But not only there, but you had to punch the index hole too, I think.
Yeah, down by the
opposite side.
The orifice. Right. Yeah.
I have a clear plastic template for that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool stuff. All right, have we completed CoreDump?
Yep.
And we even got a little Ron's Garage segment in there. All right, so
Better give us the flush to close off.
Yeah, this completes another CoreDump, people. All right, and get that crap out of here. All right.
As long as the paperwork's done.
Yes. All right. Well, we got some news to cover, but before we do that, we'll go ahead and run another commercial, give you guys a chance to take a potty break. So we will be back after these words. See you in a few, people.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowan, and you're watching the original gamer, CoCoTALK. And when you're done watching, come over and listen to the Coco Crew podcast.
Hi, this is John Linville.
And Neil Blanchard.
We are the Coco Crew. I hope you're enjoying watching CoCoTALK play video games, especially the Coco games. And when you're done with that, check out our podcast at CocoCrew.org.
Oh, yeah.
We're can you catch all the latest news and information about the Tandy Color
Dig it, baby.
compatibles? Oh yeah. I'm talking about the Coco Crew podcast. Dig it each month. Join John, Neil, and Mike as they lay down the latest news and information about the Radio Shack Tandy Color computer and compatibles. Groove to interviews, tech segments, and discussions all about the Radio Shack Tandy Color computer. Strut your fine self over to www.cococrew.org and start listening today. The Coco Crew Podcast. Keeping it Coco, dig?
Keeping it Coco, dig?
Big plans after school. You know what Elliot's gonna do? Jeff,
What is Elliot gonna do?
Work on a book report using Scripsit on Radio Shack's Color Computer 3.
That's Nick's favorite program, Color Scripsit.
And Jeff's at his Radio Shack Color Computer 3 playing the newest football game. But wait, what's Elliot doing playing new Super Pitfall? And Jeff's having a blast with a new math tutor. You never know what you might try with more than 100
Color
programs
baseball.
for fun and learning. Radio Shack's Color Computer 3 comes with everything you see here. Other items each sold separately. Only at Radio Shack.
Hey, this is Bruce Moore, author of Force of Doom, and you're watching the original gamer, StevieStrow.
Sorry, Rent, let that little segment run longer than I expected it to do, but we are back. And by the way, since we're not having Assembly this week, we're not going to call this episode Assembly Part 6 anymore. We've decided that we're going to call this one Abe Vigoda, right? So the name of this episode is Abe Vigoda. So this is the Abe Vigoda episode. If you guys don't know who Abe Vigoda is, your homework assignment is to watch the entire Barney Miller on Netflix. Wouldn't that be cool if Barney Miller was on Netflix? I don't know. Maybe it's on TV Land or something like that. But yeah, they don't make TV like that anymore, like Barney Miller.
And we have a graphic of a fish there.
Wayne Aaron is here. Wayne Aaron says, wanted to say hi to everyone. Steve Bjork was saying they did sell those discs with the pre-punched holes in them, so that were designed, a double-sided disc designed for a single-sided drive, so kind of factory punched. So that was kind of cool.
Now, I had a metal template that someone made for me out of sheet metal, out of like a little piece of sheet aluminum.
There he is.
There he is.
You know, with Abe Vigoda, there used to be a line you would say on the internet, Abe Vigoda is not dead. Then he finally died for me.
Yeah, because he ended up on the Conan O'Brien show quite a bit at one time.
Fish.
People thought he had died, and he hadn't died.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was coming back from the Coco Fest in Fort Worth, on the plane with me was the woman who played his wife. She was in first class.
Okay.
The woman who played Bernice on Fish.
Bernice, yeah. Oh, Nick Marota. By the way, Nick Marota's here. Hi, Nick Marota.
Nick Marota.
Nick Marota says those discs were called flippies, the floppies that you could flip, right?
And I had a Wang Tech, I still do. I have a Wang Tech drive that has the sensors on both sides, so you could flip a disc without punching it.
Yeah, Percom made a drive like that, and you just...
That was it. That was the Wang Tech drive. It was made by Wang Tech.
And that idea died when the owner of Percom died.
Well, the drives are, well, not anymore, but you used to be able to still get the drives even when Percom went out of business. They just weren't that popular. They had a full door on the front. I wish I could show you the picture of the drives that I have, but...
They were a nice drive.
Yeah. Mine are not labeled Percom, but I got them with my LNW80 when I bought it on eBay.
What was the name of that manufacturer?
Wang Tech. Wang, W-A-N-G-T-E-K. Wang Tech.
Remember the Wang computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and WordPerfect was modeled after the Wang word processor.
Remember Wang Chung?
Wang Chung. Everybody have fun tonight.
Gone completely off the rails.
Hey, there's Coco Cat. There's at least our first cat sighting today. Yeah, Mark Overholzer is not at home, so we don't have the Overholzer cat.
He doesn't look happy.
No.
He wants in my lap, and he's not. We're just not agreeing on how he should be sitting in my lap.
There you go. All right, so are we ready for news, boys and girls? We do have some news queued up. Let's talk about what's new and exciting this week in the world of retro, and I'm going to pick at random a little musical track from Curtis Boyle. I'm going to pick track 4, so let's switch over to Coco News, shall we?
CoCoTALK.
Whoops, wrong button.
After dark.
That was still cool. That was still good.
Oh, man, let it play.
That was the short one. You guys want to hear another CoCoTALK After Dark? All right.
CoCoTALK After Dark.
I forget where all my buttons are. So what?
A French cocoa ad.
There we go. There we go. There's some that. But you want to hear another CoCoTALK one? Let's try this one here.
CoCoTALK After Dark. CoCoTALK. CoCoTALK After Dark.
All right, there we go. Yes.
Squirrel.
8-inch floppy.
8-inch floppy.
I love the busy signal at the end.
Yeah. All right. So what's going on in news this week? So here's an interesting competition. This is called High Res Low, right? And there's a link to this in the description of this video. So the idea here is you take a picture that was in high fidelity and you try to create a low resolution equivalent of that picture for this contest. And it ends in September of 2018. So we have about a month left to submit your lo-fi digital artwork to this competition. So this is on trs-80.org.uk. And then it's competition.html, but there is a link to this in the description of this video. So that's kind of cool. And so there is a tool that you can use as well, right? So maybe this is a good time for me to plug I'mACoconut.com, because I don't remember the link to Simon Jonassen's semi-graphics utility. But if you go to I'mACoconut.com, and I believe it's under resources, which I can't even, resources and archives. And I believe under resources here, SG Edit, this will take you to Simon Jonassen's editor. And as Davey Mitchell that's been working on this, that's been updating this for Simon. So this is a really cool tool where you have all of your little semi-graphics tools, and it'll show you what tool you're doing. And you can kind of draw semi-graphics in all your different colors. So you can do a CLS, like if I want to do a blue background, I can say I want a clear blue and hit. I could turn off the grid. How the hell do I do a CLS? Clear. CLS 0, are you sure? Okay. I can do a CLS 3, are you sure? So if you want to start off with the blue background. All right. So this is a cool tool as well. So if you wanted to do some semi-graphics artwork to feed into this high-res low competition, that might be a resource you can use. So pretty cool. I think Carlos Camacho has posted a few pictures in Facebook where he's done some mock-ups using the semi-graphics tool, where he's shown like even Joust. He showed like what Joust could look like in semi-graphics, and it actually looked halfway decent. So that's kind of cool, right? So so that's kind of a cool, interesting little thing going on right now. So you might want to check that out. All right. So what else went on this week? So Brian is it Weisler? Now where's Brian? Brian's no longer with us. So Brian brought up this question, and this got a lot of chatter on Facebook this week. But was the CoCo used in the space program? So was the color computer used specifically, or was the 6809 used, or was maybe OS9 used? So the truth is out there, and it was a pretty long thread. And then I've got a follow-up to this where James Diffendaffer has basically given us a link to a post on Atari Age talking about different microprocessors that have been used throughout the history of the space program. But what do you guys want to chime in on the CoCo in space?
I'm pretty sure that they used OS9, but it was for the 68,000 processor, and it did not go up on the shuttle.
No. Did not go up on the shuttle. So the 6809 did not.
Yeah, that discussion started back in the 80s. It was a 68 Micro Journal had a editorial where they talked about it, and I think someone heard 6809, so they assumed, or they heard OS9 and they assumed 6809, and then somebody else made the leap to CoCo, and yeah,
the support equipment.
All right, yeah. So the color computer itself nor the 6809 was not used in the space program.
But my understanding is any hardware that flies into space has to be hardened. It has to be shielded from the gamma rays, because once you're above the atmosphere, you don't have the atmosphere filtering out radiation coming in. So you don't want a gamma ray hitting a processor core and flipping a bit, especially if that processor is controlling the life support or something.
Sure. Yeah.
They had one of the articles off of Atari Age. It talked about the initial processors in it, and it was like a mini mainframe, and it was a discrete processor yet at that time even. And then they used, I think, if I remember right, it was a hardened Power PC or something like that. I don't know. There's that was talked about pretty thoroughly on a couple pages linked to off of the Atari Age article or thread.
I also remember that besides the systems that flew into space, NASA used they used Amigas, believe it or not.
Yep.
They also used a lot of older systems like 8086s, 8088s, 286s, and 386s. And at one point, they were buying up everything they could get their hands on to keep their old systems running.
Right. They made a massive purchase of 8086s just a couple of years ago because they didn't have any more. And I think that was actually what the fueling system was based on, if I remember right. But
here's a shot of the space station with a CoCo in it.
Ah, there it is. Look at that. The CoCo's in the space station.
Russia actually had an MSX machine in space.
Fake news. Fake news.
It is.
Yeah, Russia actually had an MSX machine in space. I don't know what the hell they used it for, but they had one.
Collusion. They used it to hack the election from space.
One of their Venus probes.
A probe.
It was based on the Z80. And it took, they told how many hours it took to compress images to send them back. It was like, it's no wonder we didn't get many images back from that space probe.
Well, at least it was a Venus probe and not a Uranus probe. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Russia was making its own Z80 clones.
Yeah.
So that's kind of believable because they could make a hardened.
Yeah, and they and the developer box was supposedly based on a 64-180 that was clocked at, I can't remember what it was. It was a high speed. They had smuggled them into the country as development boxes.
All right, so we put this one to bed as Mythbusters busted the myth that the CoCo itself was never in space.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, it was definitely a good topic, and if there's a link to this in the description of this video, so if you want to follow the thread and chime in on this, feel free. Let the discussion continue on Facebook. Just remember, we are all premium members of Facebook. We're part of the paid service. It's kind of like Amazon Prime. I'm on Facebook Prime, so I get exclusive content that most non-believers wouldn't get.
Now, wait a minute. There was a CoCo 3 in the trunk of that Tesla that...
Is this on the bridge of the Enterprise? It was actually running on a CoCo there. Look at that. So
CoCo operated the transporter.
The transporter console. There you go. Yeah. That's good. So there's also a link, which is in the description of this video, that James had provided. This is an article in Atari Age. Talking about which processors were used in space. Now, a few minutes ago, somebody jumped in the live stream by the name of Brandon Kasparek. He says, "What is this? I thought you did Minecraft." And yes, well, this is a live talk show that we've been running now for over a year and a half, and it's now back on this channel. So yes, we do Minecraft, but we also do talk shows. So we do all kinds of content here on the OG YouTube channel.
I'm still waiting for the cat talk, dog talk, and horse talk.
Yes. All right, so there's a link to that.
We cover it all
out there. All right, so here's another one now. So Diego, a friend of the show, Diego from South America, who has only been deported from this country once, as far as we know. True story. So Diego has a website called Yet Another Color Computer Site, YACCS, and Diego has been working on a game that he's been showing us called Furious Felines. It's kind of like an Angry Birds, but you're throwing cats to catch mice. And so there's a Facebook posting for this, and Diego's site is actually right here. Welcome to YACCS S, yet another color computer site. And it's pretty cool. So this has got links to his software. So if you click on My Programs, it looks like you're looking at a directory for a color computer disk image. And for example, if you click on, he says that you know. So we only know about the one time he was deported, but there could be more. So, so when you click on Felines 2, this takes you to the game with some screenshots, and you can also download the game. And here's what's on the game disc itself and all kinds of stuff. So this has been a really neat project. And this was, I think, our first CoreDump was talking about this, how to reduce the flicker when the cat was being thrown across the screen. So Diego's website, there is a link to this in the description of this video as well. So check out yet another color computer site and check out some really cool games and projects that our good friend of the show, Diego from South America, has worked on. Anybody have anything to chime in on that as far as what we've covered so far? Am I moving too fast? We all good?
Well, one thing that I had put in the chat, when we talked about Popstar Pilot a while back, I did a Google search on it, and about the top 4 links, 3 of them were links to reviews of the game. And I went to the reviews, and the link in each of those reviews go to a broken page.
Yeah, because Nick Marentes had a different website before, and now it's nickmarentes.com.
Correct link to get.
Yeah, so can people go to nickmarentes.com and contact you to get Popstar Pilot, Nick?
Yes. Yeah. I haven't looked in a while.
Well, here's a little known fact, and we can let Nick make the final verdict on this too, but technically you can get it from my website too. From if you go to the 8bit256.com and you click on the link to order DVDs, I have a DVD copy that you could order online. And I don't know, Nick, if we've decided that was a temporary thing for Coco Fest. Do you still want me to leave that up there, or should I take that down?
I mean, I still sell it, so I mean, whatever people want to do, yeah.
So one way you can get it, and I'll just forward the proceeds to Nick whenever they come in, but if you go to 8bit256.com, which is our swag shop, and you click on the link that says DVDs and software, there is a package of the game that you can get online there, and you can order it straight through the internet, and it can ship internationally. Or you could contact Nick himself at nickmarentes.com, or whatever. You can talk to him here or in Discord or whatever.
The difference is that if you order through Steve's site, and you live in America, you'd probably get it a day or two later. If you order it from me, though, it has to come all the way from Australia, and by the time I hire the appropriate kangaroo to do the delivery, it might take 2, maybe 3 weeks to get there. So
he's got to strap it to a boomerang, throw it to a wallaby that'll take it to a dingo that will get it to a kangaroo.
Some of these kangaroos can be pretty lazy.
Are they flying kangaroos?
No, they're swimmers.
Like flying monkeys. Yeah.
Well, this is the problem. It takes them a fair while to get off the ground.
So
it's a bit of a delay there.
So check out Diego's website. Good stuff, good stuff. Something else that came up on Facebook this week too. This is Paul Thayer. For those of you not familiar with Paul Thayer's most recent commercial game he released was called Timberman. And Paul Thayer is working on another project right now that's called Buff Commando. It kind of reminds me of the early Duke Nukem. When Duke Nukem was a 2D side-scroller, it kind of reminds me of that.
Like Naked Commando?
Buff Commando. Like, yes. You could think of it that way, sure. But so Paul's been posting a few things. One thing Paul posted a link to recently was some code to double buffer a low-res Coco 3 screen. Because we had mentioned that, on the Coco 1 and 2, you got different P modes and you can do P copies and page flipping. But supposedly on the H screens for the Coco 3, there are no multiple H screens to do P copies and double buffering with. Well, he had posted a link on how to do a double buffering on the low-res screen anyways, which was like, 160 by 128 or something like that. It's a really low-res 16-color screen, which is very retro-looking. But he's also posted something that is being used by Diego in the in his various felines, but it's a way to H-put with transparency where it gets rid of the black. So when you do a P-set or a preset, it just gets rid of the black where it looks like it's a transparent sprite going across the screen. So he's posted some code in a disk you can download there and some sample code. So if you want to learn how to do a somewhat transparent looking sprite and the Coco 3 screen, the information is out there. You might want to check that out. There's also a link to this in the description of this video. Richard Lorbieski is not here, but the Boomerang has, making its way. Boomerang Mania is sweeping the nation. Matter of fact, let's run that little bumper right now. Let's run the Boomerang Mania clip. This is very apropos at this point. All right, take two. Push your Coco 3 to the limit. Boomerang Mania is real. That's something else, huh? Rob Inman gave us that fabulous production there. So, another satisfied customer. And last week, Richard had let us know that a new batch of Boomerang would be available to order this week. So if you have not already ordered your Boomerang E2, 2 megabytes and CPU booster, apparently.
And apparently those boomerangs don't come back.
They don't come back.
Scroll down a bit more on your screen there.
Uh-huh.
Is this a current version of the yeah, okay, click on that. A bit down. Charlie Drake. It's an old Australian song.
Okay. Hopefully I won't get a copyright notice from YouTube on this one here. Let's see.
Fair use.
Wow, that just seems so.
It's a pretty old little lyric, but yeah, that's what I was saying.
It seems a little culturally insensitive as well there, but
problematic, dated, yes.
back in.
I think that can only best be done in whiteface. So. Wow. So
boomerangs don't come back. Yeah, that's
boomerangs don't come back. Antonio. Now, Antonio has learned the first time he tried to desolder his CPU and cut and burned some traces on his motherboard. He learned to leave this to the experts, but he did. I guess he did his own switch here. So the cool thing about the Boomerang is that not only does it give you 2 megs, here's your Boomerang, here's your 2 leads that run to your little Guardian CPU protector and MMU device here. So there we have the Boomerang itself. What he's also done is he's added a toggle switch. Now the location he chose, to me, I realize it's less conspicuous, but it's also less practical to get to because you got to lift up your Coco. But see, he's done drilled a hole here for a toggle switch for his 2 meg 512. There he's mounted the switch with some leads because there's a couple of leads on the bottom of the Guardian here. And then from there, here's the switch. So the same spot where the RGB connection is, he's got that toggle switch. And then I think he actually labeled the toggle switch to switch between the 512K and the 2 megabytes there. and here's his RGB cable. So
it's a switcheroo cable.
It's a switcheroo. He's added a switcheroo to the boomerang. So this is whose mind is blown right now. So cool project there. And it's definitely out of the way, and it doesn't take away from the look of your Coco. It's not like putting a big blemish on your system. But for practical reasons, you got to lift up your thing and put your finger behind it, as they say, to flip it.
Lift up your thing and put your finger. Yeah.
So good job there, though, Antonio. And so good. So
trying
there
to
you
get
go.
it on my switch racket. I don't know about that.
Yeah. Listen. Oh, here's a nice switch that Ron's found there. This looks like what you'd put when you're going to electrocute somebody there, huh? That's a dangerous switch there. So
for the mad scientist.
Yes. So another satisfied boomerang customer. Here's a very, I would say, racially intolerant song here about the boomerang. But I'll tell you what, for those of you, it's in the Facebook. But I will go ahead and throw it out there, too. I'll stick it in the YouTube chat. If you'd like to watch a video that's not necessarily flattering towards the indigenous people of Australia, then by all means. What else? So we're going to save that for news. Okay, so this one we covered. We covered Wrong's Garage, or I should actually say events. So, all right, we've wrapped up news. Have I missed anything? Any of you guys want to also add in that's happened this week that maybe is worth mentioning to the retro community?
People were asking on the MC10 area on Facebook about upgrading the 6847 and let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, a lot of questions about the different modes of what the VDG are and how to get to these different colors. Who's that guy who keeps asking those questions? Is it
this week's? I can't remember.
Is it the guy who always starts off with saying, "This is my bonehead question of the week"? Or
yeah, I believe that was
so. TRS-80 MC10. So I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's James something. Okay, so I have it pulled up.
Anyway, the basically the question was about
James Host.
Yeah, and the original article telling how to add more video RAM to the machine is in the Color Computer Magazine September '83 issue, in case anybody is looking for it.
Okay, the picture that was posted earlier looks like this is something that's in an emulator, possibly. It was basically showing you the different modes of the VDG.
Right.
Which,
now in the emulator, you can support the full 6K of video RAM needed for the like P Mode 4 type graphics.
Okay, so that's only in an emulator. I see that's a check mark there. It's allows 6K VRAM emulator enhanced.
You have to do a hardware mod, piggybacking RAM chips, running a few wires, and adding a couple more chips to the MC10 in order to make it actually do that. Okay. I suggest you have soldering experience before you start doing mods like that.
Yeah, that's definitely send it to Richard Lorbieski if when in doubt, right? I mean, what it's looking like here, I was able to follow this. I mean, if you've worked on the Coco and you've worked in the different text and graphics modes, you know that you've got different color borders. Whenever you're working in a text mode or in a semi-graphics mode, your borders are always black, right? You've got your green and white borders if you're in your P mode 3 or 4 graphics mode. So, and then in your text mode, you've basically got dark green on light green is your text colors, and those can be inverted to where it's light green on dark green. And there's a way to change the color set to get kind of this peach and red instead of green and black. And that was true on the Coco as well. It is on the MC10. So that was able to follow. And these are your different 4 color modes. So this is like a P mode 1 or 3 screen with your green, yellow, blue, and red modes, and that's your low colors, and then your high colors are your buff, cyan, magenta, and orange. So these 8 colors for graphics have been around forever, right? And so those are the same on the Coco as they are on the MC10. And then here's, I guess, your 2 color modes where you've got your different colors. So you've got black and white, or your dark green and dark green, right? So So, but I'm not even familiar with this emulator. I'm not familiar with the MC10 at all. I have one. I've never played with it, and I've never played with an MC10 emulator. But this is kind of an interesting screen to show you what your different color options are. So yeah, there's another group out there. So not only is there a Coco specific group, but there's also an MC10 group. So what else was going on in the MC10 world this week, James? I'm sorry if I got sidetracked.
Oh, I don't know. More boneheaded questions.
Okay. All right. But there seems to be a handful of people now that are actively interested in trying to develop for the MC10. So they're probing for information and wanting to do stuff. So I think it would be interesting to see a few more people out there cranking out content other than Jim Gary. You know, God bless Jim Gary, but it'd be nice to see a few other people, you know, do a few things for the MC10 as well. Other than Jim Gary, the only people I know who've done things besides you, James Diffendaffer, is I know that Darren Atkins.
Train.
Yeah, Darren Atkins, you know, who's made the memory extender, he has ported a few things to the MC10 to work, like the Space Assault that was on the ROM pack. There's an Asteroids game for it. There's a few things out there. There's a Pac-Man for it. Jim Gary's made stuff. John Linville ported his Christmas Rush to work on it. But there aren't a lot of people making MC10 content. I mean, the only name that comes to mind that's in the top of your head is Jim Gary, you know. So it really would be nice to see a few more people cranking out some stuff to this little machine here and make Steve Bjork happy.
It'd be nice if somebody do a hardware project and create a real keyboard for it.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting too. All right. Well, the next item that we're going to talk about, we're not going to report it as news. We're going to report it under the category of events because it's dealing with Tandy Assembly and what's coming up to Tandy Assembly now that has been confirmed. So that's kind of exciting to share. So is there anything else we've missed so far in the world of news? Are we pretty good there? Going once, going twice.
I do want to say one thing real briefly, quickly.
Sure, Ron.
Sheldon McDonald should
yes.
get credit for finding a program in. He said he stumbled on this program in the Rainbow magazine, wondering if anyone had this and if it works with the Coco SDC and joystick. And that's exactly what I saw. Dug out mine, and then Mr. Marentes, gave us.
Okay, so our whole CoreDump topic today is courtesy of Sheldon McDonald, who posted this first. Okay.
I wanted to give him credit.
There we go. Give him credit. And so 10% of the royalties of today's show will go to Sheldon McDonald. All right, and this segment of CoCoTALK News is brought to you by Trains. So, of course, soundboard's not working. All right, so we're going to come back after a brief commercial announcement. This is brought to you by Trains. All right, so we're going to do another brief commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what's new and exciting and officially announced now for Tandy Assembly. So we'll be back in just a minute, folks.
Hi, I'm Bruce Moore, and this is...
We're seeing Bruce Moore a lot lately. I got to fix this playlist.
And we are the Forest of Doom guys, and the Coco Forever guys, and we're at Coco Fest, and we love StevieStrow.
All right, we're going to have to fix that. Here he is again. I got more Bruce Moore.
Only the bravest souls enter. Only the most cunning return. Defeat innumerable monsters to ransom the king's scepter, stolen by the evil wizard. Your sword, shield, and wits are your only allies. Pray you find a magical inn as your only respite in the Forest of Doom.
For the Tandy Color Computer 1, 2, and 3.
November 2017, if you dare.
CoCoTALK now with 30% more Bruce Moore.
My fellow Americans, Australians, Canadians, Europeans, and all of you ands, I'm calling on all y'all
to help us make the world great again by visiting the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com, where you can get yourself a coffee mug like this with a little cute cartoon character that says, I'm a Cocoa Nut. You could also get yourself a coffee mug like this with a Color Computer 3 that says, I'm a Cocoa Nut. You could get yourself a deluxe travel mug like this with the CoCoTALK logo on it. You might even be able to get yourself a DVD like this with over 2 hours of gameplay goodness. It is time for us to rise up and make the world great again by enjoying some quality retro merchandise and Coco nostalgia. So please visit 8bit256.com and let's make the world great for the color computer. Thank you very much.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
Well, I remember that Christmas. Dad gave me my first shortwave radio from Radio Shack. What memories.
His first shortwave. How many shortwaves you got?
Color Computer 3 from Radio Shack. It hooks right up to our TV and was on sale for less than $130. The Color Computer 3 makes learning fun. Jimmy even lets me
recognize Shanghai there?
When he isn't playing computer games. Lucky I still got my shortwave.
Save $70 on the sale-priced Color Computer 3, only at Radio Shack.
Only at Radio Shack. All right. All right, well, we're here with events from around the world. So let's play some theme music here by L. Curtis Boyle. Woo! Right on. So, we're skipping events in the calendar because VCF Midwest happens first. VCF Midwest, which a lot of us on the show will be attending this year in September. But the big news this week is the official announcement of what's going on at Tandy Assembly. So Tandy Assembly 2018, which is taking place November 10th and 11th in Springfield, Ohio. It has now been made public and is official that our keynote headline speaker is Stuart Chaffee, the guy who ran Computer Chronicles throughout the 80s and 90s. So he's going to be speaking Saturday morning. That's a big thing. It's a big guy to get. And so this is really cool that Stuart's going to be there. There are more speakers going to be happening too. These guys were here last year, Arno and Sasha. Last year they were showing off a kind of cool app store for TRS-80 emulator, where you could get the emulator and then kind of like how you can go into the Apple Store and download apps, you could download TRS-80 programs to run in the emulator all through their program. So that's pretty cool. And so they're going to be talking about something else now, building an extension card for the TRS-80. And then Thomas McLaren, the Tandy 600 FAQ Live. Is this a picture of the Tandy 600 here? I don't know what the hell a Tandy 600 is. But so, okay. So we got a couple of, so this is like breaking news right now. Stuart Chaffee. And so here's his bio. It's on the website. He's actually got a website here too called chaffee.com. Here we go. Stuart Chaffee Productions. So here you can kind of see a little bit more about what he's doing. He's got an email where you can reach out to him. He's got a Twitter. He's got a Facebook. So apparently Stuart's still online. He's still around. Computer Chronicles was like a much better version of this show, covering real things on a, was it weekly, monthly? How often did that happen on PBS? I don't know. It was at least monthly. But that's what
I thought it was weekly. But
might have been weekly, but yeah. So this was, I mean, they covered all what was going on in tech. So a lot of Radio Shack episodes, a lot of Tandy episodes. You saw him play with Dancing Demon, Dancing Devil, whichever one it was called, I forget. And we saw that clip last week, I think it was, of the Coco users group. So yeah, really cool slice of history there. Really interesting guy to get. So if you were on the fence about going, or if you didn't have a reason to go, now maybe hearing and meeting Stuart Chaffee in the flesh might motivate you to come on out to Tandy Assembly. That, and you'll get to see Jim Brain. So if nothing else, that'll really make you want to go out there. So cool stuff, right, guys?
Yep.
The other one is VCF Midwest, right? So I don't remember the website, so we'll just let we'll let Google find that for us. Here we go. So it's vcfmw.org, right? So we got 27 days left to VCF Midwest. So all kinds of cool stuff going on there. Retro Innovation says, I am way more important than Stuart Chaffee, obviously, right? So VCF Midwest also coming up. And a lot of us on the panel on CoCoTALK, we will be there at VCF Midwest. We talked about this last week on our Retro Talk After Dark, too. Jim Brain really shared a lot of insight with us. He's been to several of those. He's a big fan of the event. We've looked at a lot of pictures of the event. Looks like a big show. Looks like a good show. I'm really looking forward to attending my first VCF. I am planning on displaying Cosmic Aliens, the original version, running on a real Tandy 1000, as well as wherever the state of the Coco version is going to be. I'll probably be running that on a Coco Pi, so you'll be able to say the new and the old. That'll be my little table, and I'll also be giving a little talk about the project and where I am and what my plans are for this project, things like that. So, but there's a lot of stuff going on at VCF Midwest. Just because I'm registered, I get the emails. Very well organized event, so they're really on top of everything. Very communicative, sending out emails, sending out floor plans, asking people to verify spellings and pronunciations and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, these people are on the game, are on the ball, and so really looking forward to VCF as well. And now Tandy Assembly. You know, and is Abe Vigoda going to be at Tandy Assembly by any chance?
No, but Steve Chaffee is coming out with a sound card.
Stuart Chaffee is? Yeah. So the fourth sound offering, that's going to be his announcement. I've got a sound card for the color computer. One sound card to rule them all. So good stuff. Good stuff. Who among us right now is hopefully going to maybe attend either VCF or Tandy Assembly or both?
As of right now, I'm planning on both.
Okay, so we have Grant Leighty for the win for both. I'm booked for VCF. I got my snuggle buddy Grant's going to be with me. We're sharing a small inflatable mattress together. Lots of spooning going to be going on there.
Oh, God.
Retro Innovation says I'll be at both.
You know, it's that reason that I may not come to see next Saturday. Is because you're going to have it's going to be the footsie edition
Ron. Please be praying for me during that weekend.
Jim Brain says he's going to be at both, so Retro Innovations will be at both events. So that's two reasons to go out and meet Retro Innovations, a living legend of retro design and hardware products and services. Coco Man says he will be at Tandy Assembly. Good job there. Excellent. Well, we're at 2 hours and 45 minutes. We're coming up to the 3 hour mark, and with the closing credits, we'll be way over 3 hours. So James Jones says, as they say in the security business, I have no need to know. What else have we not talked about that's worth talking about so far? Have we given the world enough for one episode?
Do we have any new people in the green area there?
In the green area, what does that mean?
You know,
the chat.
Oh, you're talking about in the Patreons?
Yeah, we haven't had that CocoZilla girl show up yet. Or?
Oh yeah, no, we have not had Sexy Girl or anything else show up. It's coming up here. Backyard Shed Gang. Kyle Eder or Eater is one of our most newest patrons. Yeah, there hasn't been too much drama in the live chat today, so no trolling, no drama. Jim Brain hasn't even been trolling us. Very disappointed that Retro Innovations has not trolled us that much. So Troll Senior's here. We don't have Troll Junior. It's been a troll-free show. It's not an episode of CoCoTALK without at least come on, Retro Innovations. We need you right now. We need some trolling.
That MC10 article in Color Computer Magazine, and that was written by last week's guest.
Yes, it was.
Dennis Kitts.
Dennis Kitts.
Yep, he had a regular column in that magazine.
Wow.
Problem is, I'm not an electronics guy, but looking at it, if you were to install that mod, I'm not sure you can put an MCX 128 or a 16K RAM pack on the MC10.
It would conflict.
I see.
So it's either or.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Is that what was the main reason why they could not, even though the MC10 could support up to 20K, they never gave you even the full 6K of graphics memory.
The bus is isolated, so that I don't know how I put this.
According to the article, the MC10 doesn't fully decode the memory, so that the 4K of built-in memory is actually mirrored several times throughout the memory map. And one of the things that Dennis's mod does is it corrects the decoding so that the 4K is only mirrored twice.
Well, that's not actually a problem because the expansion bus has a connection on it where you can disable internal address decoding. So you could have something, the processor see something at those addresses besides that built-in RAM. The problem was that the 6847 is completely isolated from the expansion connector. It can only see the internal RAM.
It's flying.
Jim Brain saying they had one wire to connect and they were too lazy.
Tell me why did Tandy do that?
We all want to know.
Yeah, there was one pin on the 6847 for accessing memory that they did not connect. And they, even if they didn't have the memory in the machine, they could have set it up so that it would have been easy to do that.
Yeah. Do you think it was intentional, kind of like how they didn't want the Coco 3 to compete with the Tandy 1000? You think they didn't want this thing to be as capable as a Coco graphically? Or is it just a cost thing?
Given some of the, it uses SD-RAM, not SD-RAM, it uses...
static RAM. Static versus dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, it uses static RAM, and so it doesn't need any circuitry to refresh the dynamic RAM. And that was more expensive at the time, but I priced it, and 8K, which would have given them enough room to do that, wasn't so expensive that they couldn't have released it with 8K. It would have only been about, $5 more, I think, for the unit. And that kind of price. Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't the only compromise to that design. They totally messed up the built-in serial port, and there was a bunch of things.
Yeah, it was completely like everything of Tandy. It's cost reduction, and how can we do this as inexpensively as possible?
Well, the keyboard, they used one of the lines that the built-in serial port uses to read one of the rows on the keyboard. And the keyboard has enough holes in it in the regular matrix that it didn't have to do that. And it would actually be faster to do it the other way. But, and it's one of those things. I've seen engineers design stuff that they thought was clever, and you don't know if it was an intentional thing or the engineer just was being clever or what. It might have saved 2 cents.
Right. I believe that's known as a fluster cluck. So, in engineering terms. So, interesting. Well, listen, it's still part of our family, right? So Ken says there's holes in the matrix. Call Neo.
Stepchild, but it's
yeah, it's still part of the family, and bless its heart, I love the MC10. Bless its heart. So I share no animosity to this. I don't care if it destroyed the deluxe color computer. I bless its heart, I still love the MC10. So it's all good.
That's why you've never used it.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah, but I tell you what, when we look at it, and we can sit here and criticize the keyboard, but when you look at it next to a Sinclair, it seems like a larger, more capable machine. And compared to the Sinclair, it's a much better design.
The Timex Sinclair 1000 came with 2K, and that membrane keyboard, you couldn't even tell you were on the keyboard.
Yeah.
And it was black and white.
Yeah.
And it was black and white.
What about a chocolate eclair?
Yeah. So Tim Franklin says they do make a good doorstop. So.
Well, the Spectrum was a 48K machine. And it had rubber keys.
Yeah. Yeah. The Spectrum was a better machine, but it came out probably after the MC10 was in development. And the Auric was also, well, the first ones, I think of both of those were actually 16K.
Did you say Oric?
Yeah.
Like it sucks? Like a vacuum?
It's ORIC.
Oh.
The Oric one was a 6502 based computer. It based on they had a custom video chip and the memory refresh and stuff, and it had a built-in one of the General Instrument sound chips, and it was a similar class machine, and it came out about the same time, and there was a whole bunch of them in the same price range, and those came out right. I don't know. It was just the year before the MC10, I think. It would have been late in the year, though.
Interesting.
But those were only available in Europe, really. We got the Timex Sinclair 2068 eventually. That started out life as the Spectrum, but that was much later.
All right. Well, I think we've done enough for one day, and we can decide if maybe later on if we want to do an after dark. We'll reach out in Discord and see if we want to get back together tonight. I enjoyed last week's After Dark. I thought it was pretty good. Listen to the replay. Good times. So let's say thank you to the people who have been in the live chat with us today. James Jones was here. Paul Fiscarelli, Retro Innovations, Nick Marota. Ken Reichert was here. Tim Franklin, Mark Siegel, James Jones, Al Hartman, Alexander Wallace, John Farmwalt, Tom C. How you doing? James Jones, Tim Franklin, Nick Marota, Paul Fiscarelli, Mark Siegel, Al Hartman, Ken Reichert, Roy Cyberpunk stopped by for a minute. Sixy, good friend Karen Anscombe was here. Sixy, Mark Siegel. Steve Bjork was in the live chat. So was Sixy. So was James Jones. So was Alexander Wallace. I know I'm repeating myself. Coco Man was in the live chat when his internet died. Kyle, I know I'm screwing up your name. Is it Kyle Etter or Kyle Eater? Please let me know. Tim Franklin, William Carlin was here. Wayne Aaron, Nick Marota. Retro Innovations was here. Brendan Kasparek says, hey, play some Skinner, man. Why aren't you doing Minecraft? Diego, good friend of the show, Diego, has only been officially, to our knowledge, deported from the United States once, but the other times we can't tell you about. Nick Marota was here. Retro Innovations has been here. James Jones has been here. Tim Franklin. Avril Bess was here. Coco Man was here. Retro Innovations was here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Nick Marota was probably here. And on the panel still, we have, not with an apple in the background, Mark D. Overholzer, who is currently at his daughter's wedding, not his sister, not his aunt, not his cousin, not his neighbor, but his daughter's wedding. And despite that, he joined the show. Earlier, we had somebody who said, hey, I just had open heart surgery, and, the stitches haven't even healed, but I'm sitting here watching CoCoTALK. So we've got some dedicated people here. We appreciate that. From sunny Arizona, Ron Delvaux has been here. As seen at PenFest, as seen at CorgsCon, as seen at Hamvention, Coco Fest, and often seen evading law enforcement. Jason, the Coco Man Reichert, creator of the Switcheroo, has been here. Mr. James Diffendaffer has been here, the guy who's made my head explode on more than one occasion. Thank you, James, for all that you do. Greg is here. Hey, Greg. Grant Leighty. And Al Hartman is here. From down under, Nick Marentes is here. And Retro Innovation says, or at least as the rest of the world puts it, lots of people with no life, right? So, legendary video game designer Rick Adams, thank you. You're too kind. Yes, thank you. Resident Canadian Bruce Moore, father of Jacob Moore, is here with us. Coco Forever guy. Yeah. And this episode of CoCoTALK features 30% more Bruce Moore promotions. So
more and more.
More.
It's a law firm, more and more.
More and more. And so, yeah, earlier Jim was saying, isn't Abe Vigoda dead? Well, listen, that's never stopped a lot of people before. So, yeah, we're hoping that Abe Vigoda is going to make an appearance at Tandy Assembly. Maybe it'll be a hologram projection, an astral projection, some type of projection. But so this episode became the Abe Vigoda episode. So we're going to begin phase 1 of the CoCoTALK outro. Tim Franklin says, have a great week. So we're not leaving just yet, Tim. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning of the end. But this train wreck isn't over yet. So hold on for phase 1 of the outro here. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Phase 1.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTALK.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTALK at CoCoTALK.live. If 35% you love the color computer like we do, then visit IMACoconut.com for all your color computer links needs. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, visit the Patreon link on our site at CoCoTALK.live. CoCoTALK would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leighty, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes,
38% Bruce Moore
Rick
now.
Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonason, Wayne Campbell, Steve Batson, Brian Joyce, John Strong, and Barry Nelson. Special thanks to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and Brian Joyce for our best of episodes and bonus content. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at CoCoCrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at GlensideCCC.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations
That's Linda
at
Pedraza
Go,
right there.
4, Retro.com. Tandy
Mark
Assembly
Overholzer.
at TandyAssembly.com. Boyson Technologies at BOYSON Tech.com.
Mikey!
Get your own switcheroo at CocoMan.biz.
He says
and
rip.
9 Technologies at Cloud9 Tech.com. CoCoTALK is hosted by Steve Strobridge. Co-hosts, technical directors, segment
There's
hosts, and
Boyson.
producers Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Grant Leighty, Mark Overholzer,
Yeah!
Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. Production motivation, Steve Bjork. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Schalar. Mixed, mastered,
Sheeler.
and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever, people. And let's not forget a very special thank you to Roger Taylor for getting us on the CoCo TV channel on Roku.
3 Muggeteers right there, huh? Hey, it's Tim. Playing Daggerath like that idiot in the book. William, the Lost Wizard. All right, well, that concludes phase 1. And so Jim Brain says, rip Grant. When did we lose Grant? Now that he's gone, I almost miss Grant and his eccentric nature. Where did Grant go?
And there's this week's episode of Where Did Grant Go?
Yes.
He's off to Wendy's to get one of those Frosties.
No,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back from Wendy's. How was your Frosty?
Frosty was awesome.
Is this like Where in the World is Grant Leighty now? Is this a new adventure series? Ron Delvaux's giving us all motion sickness there with his far from steady cam. He says
Ron Delvaux and the Queasy Cam.
The Queasy. Here we go.
Better flush that.
That's from the ribs. On that.
Next, he's going to be grabbing the camera and.
So that means we can expense on our accounts Steadicam technology.
Steadicam, yep. And in the meantime, if you need Dramamine and other type of sickness and, Alka-Seltzer and what's that pink stuff, Pepto-Bismol, whatever you need there. Jason's moving back and forth. We're getting seasick there, Jason.
Trying to get my sea legs here.
Yeah. Oh. All right, so we now have actually officially broken the 3-hour mark. So this is an average length episode of CoCoTALK. This is not a shorty. It's not a longie. This is average. SCTV in 3D. That was a good show. That was a good series. Second City Television. All right. Well, we are now going to do the post-closing part here. Oh, what are you? What are you?
This is the simulated 3D.
Oh, 3D. There's clowns and balloons coming at you. Woo. All right. So, Greg, the rumors of your demise are exaggerated. Is that fake news, Greg? Grant Leighty, you still among the living?
Yes, I am. What
All
was the
right.
question?
Well, I guess Retro Innovations, for whatever reason, thought you were deceased. So,
well, Greg, he said.
Greg.
That's
okay,
Abe
Greg.
Vigoda, not Greg.
Abe Vigoda. So it's Abe Vigoda. It's not Grant. Grant's still with us. Grant is not a hologram. He's a real person.
Nope, I'm still alive and kicking.
All right. There we go. All right. Well, let's do some post-closing bonus content here. Or not.
Maybe.
Black screen of death.
Yeah.
We'll do it live. What the hell's going on
This is a
here?
professional show.
We're back.
David Ladd, Grant Leighty,
What the hell just happened there?
Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. Production motivation, Steve Bjork. The CoCoTALK
That was
theme
a
song is
screw
copyright
up.
2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg
42%.
Schalar. Mixed, mastered, and produced
40
by D.
we're at the
Bruce
48%
Moore.
Bruce
Forever,
Moore right
people.
now.
And let's not forget a very special thank you to Roger Taylor for getting us on the Coco TV channel on
It's like
Roku.
deja vu all over again.
Or the Matrix.
There's a glitch in the Matrix. There is. There's Tim again. Nick Marentes says like a fine oiled machine. Yes. There we go. With 48% more Bruce Moore this
Is
episode.
Antonio Jimenez, author of such projects such as the CoCoTALK Devil and the SD Pack, and you are watching CoCoTALK in 3, 2, go.
I'm behind you making faces.
Okay.
Do you have a script?
You're rolling, Curtis. You say whatever the hell you want to say.
Well, give me some kind of guideline.
Hi, this is Curtis Boyle.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
All right, we're rolling. You say whatever you want to say, David. David Ladd.
Nation, world's leading weekly Tandy computer.
I think Mark needs a few more pens on his shirt there.
Hi, I'm Tim. Playing dagger with like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
I love that one.
Thank you, David Ladd. No, get back up there for 1 second.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
What?
Let's get some drive wire, TTL,
No,
ESP.
no, we don't need any drive wire or TTL. Hi, it's Curtis Boyle, part of the CoCoTALK crew of people.
Hi, we're on Delvo Timberman. To experience Coco Fest, you must come. But I brought the only working MC10. I could not get. Couldn't get autograph. By certain someone you know. Oh well.
The world's leading weekly CoCoTALK show. Yeah, something like that.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, and I'm the author of Temple of Brahm, Shanghai, and now Bomb Threat, and you're listening to CoCoTALK on CoCoTALK.
8-slot MPI, floppy drive, Coco SDC, sound speech pack, Orchestra 90, RS-232 pack, modem pack, Super IDE. You start adding all those together if you want them all usable at the same time. Well, guess what? You just went over the 4-slot MPI.
There we go. And we don't want to punch a hole in space-time continuum by going over the 4-slot MPI. Oh, so we did get a final troll here from Retro Innovations. He goes, can we get a Kickstarter and find a real host with good production capabilities? So we will work on that. But to give a plug to Retro Innovations, if you do need to go over this 4-slot MPI, you can get yourself an 8-port expander that can daisy chain into a 16-port expander, and so on and so on. So, and yeah, Nick Marentes says, I love that poster, where the one that Grant's in front of, where it's supposed to say the greatest live talk show on Earth, and I forgot the T, so it just says EARH. Greatest show on And unless there's a planet called nobody can sue me for a false claim there. So,
This production mishap brought to you by Retro Innovations.
Yes, Retro Innovations. Yes. John Linville says, hey, sorry, but I'm busy with my own stuff. Yes. John, we did plug the Tandy Assembly Stuart Chaffee official announcement release, and we did run a Coco Crew block of material. That's R for pirate talk, right? Is like a mentally challenged talk. All right, well, I believe we've beat this one to death. So let's all say goodbye to Nick Marentes.
Goodbye, Nick Marentes.
Goodbye, Nick Marentes.
Goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Nick.
All right, so we're about ready to flush this.
Nick.
Yeah. All right. Finish the paperwork. We're putting this show out of its misery. We've beat it to death. 3 hours and 8 minutes. Thank you all for being here in the live stream. And we'll see you some other time in the future.